Beneath the burning sun of the desert, the pyramids rise like stone giants, silent, unyielding, eternal. For centuries, they've been seen as monuments to kings, tombs of pharaohs, and symbols of ancient ingenuity. But what if we've been looking at them all wrong? What if these colossal structures are far older than history dares to admit? Built not 4,000 years ago, but before the last ice age reshaped the earth. Imagine a time when glaciers carved valleys, seas swallowed continents, and forgotten civilizations may have thrived and vanished. Could the pyramids be the last surviving message from a world erased by time? Why do their alignments mirror the stars with impossible precision? Why do myths from Palestine to the Nile whisper of knowledge lost in floods and fire? And what hidden truths lie buried in their stone? Truths that challenge everything we think we know about human history. Tonight, we unlock 30 mysteries of the pyramids, so sit back, open your mind, and let's dive into the enigma. The desert stretches endlessly beneath the burning sun, its sands shifting like waves in a golden sea, and there, rising from the horizon, stand the pyramids, immovable, eternal, and enigmatic. For thousands of years, their sheer size and flawless geometry have inspired awe. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the most famous of them all, towers over the landscape with a precision that seems almost impossible. Constructed from more than 2 million limestone blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, it is aligned with remarkable accuracy to the cardinal directions, its base nearly a perfect square. Scholars tell us that this was the achievement of ancient Egyptian ingenuity, of laborers, engineers, and the will of kings. Yet for many, the question lingers: could human hands alone, more than 4,000 years ago, have truly accomplished this feat? Archaeologists have pieced together explanations. They describe ramps of earth and stone stretching for miles, hauling sledges lubricated with water, and armies of workers laboring under the desert sun. In this view, the pyramids are testaments not to mystery, but to determination and organization. Yet even within this framework, uncertainties remain. How exactly were the blocks lifted and set with such precision that the joints are nearly seamless? Why do the pyramids' proportions encode mathematical relationships still studied by architects and astronomers today? And why does the Great Pyramid, unlike any other structure of its age, contain no inscriptions proclaiming the glory of its builder? It is within these gaps in knowledge that alternative theories have taken root. Among the most provocative is the idea that the pyramids were not solely human achievements at all, but works assisted, or perhaps even designed, by beings from beyond our world. The ancient astronaut hypothesis, as it has come to be called, does not dismiss human involvement. Instead, it suggests that humanity may have received knowledge, tools, or guidance from visitors with technology far surpassing our own. To some, the pyramids are not just tombs, but markers, messages left in stone. Consider the astronomical alignments. The Great Pyramid is oriented within a fraction of a degree to true north, a feat so precise that even modern engineers marvel at it. Its shafts appear to point toward specific stars, such as Orion's belt, long associated with ancient mythologies of rebirth and cosmic order. Was this simply coincidence, or evidence of a deeper knowledge of the heavens? And if the builders had such knowledge, where did it come from? The myths of Egypt themselves speak of gods descending from the sky. Deities such as Osiris, Isis, and Horus were not merely spirits, but beings connected to the stars, their stories intertwined with celestial cycles. Across cultures, from Mesopotamia to Palestine, tales abound of knowledge-bearers who came from above, civilizers who taught writing, agriculture, and laws. Could these myths preserve faint memories of encounters with something other, something not of this earth? Skeptics argue that such ideas underestimate human potential. They point to quarry sites showing partially cut stones, to villages where workers lived, to graffiti left by the crews who hauled the blocks. These are strong pieces of evidence for human labor. Yet they do not erase the mystery of scale and precision. If all that was needed was manpower and persistence, why do so few other ancient structures rival the pyramids in endurance and complexity? Why, in the thousands of years that followed, did no other civilization, even those that admired and imitated Egypt, replicate these exact feats on such a scale? Some researchers note that the pyramids encode not only astronomical alignments, but mathematical constants. The ratio of their height to the perimeter of the base approximates the value of pi. The orientation of the Giza complex appears to mirror the pattern of Orion's belt in the night sky. Were these achievements of chance, or the deliberate design of minds seeking to leave a cosmic signature? If so, were those minds human, or something more? The possibility of alien involvement raises further questions. If such visitors existed, why would they come here? Why build monuments of stone? Some suggest the pyramids could have been beacons, visible across millennia, designed to endure when other records failed. Others wonder whether they served practical functions, power plants, energy collectors, or markers of landing sites. Though evidence for these claims is thin, the questions persist because the pyramids themselves remain stubbornly silent, their secrets locked within chambers and passageways still unexplored. Modern technology has deepened the mystery rather than resolved it. Recent scans of the Great Pyramid have revealed hidden voids, large unexplained cavities above the Grand Gallery. Their purpose is unknown. Are they structural, symbolic, or something yet to be imagined? Ground-penetrating radar and thermal imaging hint at anomalies in the stone, but definitive answers remain elusive. For every discovery, new questions emerge, and the enigma only grows. As we stand before these colossal structures, it is impossible not to feel the weight of time pressing down. Civilizations have risen and fallen, empires have come and gone, yet the pyramids endure. They have seen floods of history, the conquests of Persia, the rise of Rome, the crusaders who marched through Palestine, the scholars of Cairo who measured their stones, and the modern tourists who gaze upward in wonder. Through it all, the pyramids remain as though they belong not to one age, but to all of them. Were they the work of human genius, sharpened by ambition and devotion to the gods? Or were they the result of something else, an encounter with knowledge from the stars, recorded not in books or inscriptions, but in stone blocks aligned to the heavens? The truth may lie somewhere between. Perhaps the pyramids are reminders that human history is more complex, more layered than we imagine. Perhaps they whisper of a past when the line between myth and reality was thinner, when gods could be seen as teachers, and when the skies were not empty but filled with possibility. And so the question lingers. As we gaze at the pyramids today, are we looking at monuments to kings or monuments to mysteries? Could it be that beneath their silent stones lies a story not of what humans built, but of who might have once walked among them? From the golden sands of Giza, where the pyramids stand as eternal sentinels, our journey drifts further back, beyond dynasties, beyond recorded history, into the mists of a time before memory. A time some believe gave rise to a civilization so advanced, so luminous, that its echoes still reverberate in the myths of nearly every culture. That civilization is Atlantis. The pyramids, with their perfect geometry and timeless endurance, have long been viewed as the pinnacle of Egyptian mastery. Yet, for some, their presence stirs a deeper question. Could these colossal monuments be remnants, not of Egypt's old kingdom, but of an older world altogether? A world destroyed by cataclysm, its survivors scattering across the globe, carrying with them fragments of a lost science? If so, might the pyramids be more than tombs? Might they be the legacy of Atlantean architects? Plato's dialogues, written in the 4th century BC, are the earliest surviving source to describe Atlantis. He wrote of a mighty island empire beyond the Pillars of Hercules, destroyed in a single night of fire and flood. Scholars often dismiss his story as allegory, a philosophical parable about hubris and collapse. Yet others wonder, could Plato's tale preserve distant memories of real events, stories handed down through generations until they were woven into myth? If such a place existed, and if its people were as advanced as the legend suggests, where would their knowledge have gone? Would they have left no trace, no stones, no monuments, no enduring symbols? Here, the pyramids become a focal point of speculation. Their scale and sophistication set them apart not only from other Egyptian monuments, but from nearly all ancient architecture. The Great Pyramid alone rises nearly 500 feet, its base covering 13 acres, constructed with a precision that modern engineers still debate. Could the survivors of Atlantis, if they existed, have guided its design? Could the memory of a drowned civilization be etched, block by block, into the desert sands of Giza? Mythology offers tantalizing threads. In Egypt, gods like Thoth and Osiris were said to have brought knowledge from afar, teaching humanity the arts of writing, measurement, and civilization. In Palestine, stories spoke of ancient giants and teachers descending in ages long before the flood. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl arrived as a bearded stranger from across the sea, carrying wisdom to a people who would later build their own pyramids. Are these merely coincidental tales, or fragments of a larger forgotten history? Could these figures be cultural memories of Atlantean survivors, bearing gifts of science and architecture to societies rising in their aftermath? Geology, too, adds weight to the mystery. Around 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, Earth underwent a period of dramatic upheaval. Seas rose, glaciers melted, and entire coastlines disappeared beneath the waves. This timing aligns eerily with Plato's account, placing the fall of Atlantis not in mythic eternity, but in the very real chaos of global climate shifts. If such a catastrophe obliterated an advanced coastal society, its survivors might have fled inland, seeking refuge in places like the Nile Valley. Could the foundations of Egyptian civilization, its sudden emergence of writing, mathematics, and monumental architecture, have been seeded by the remnants of a lost world? Mainstream historians resist such claims. They point to evidence of steady Egyptian development, pottery shards, burial practices, and cultural continuity stretching back to pre-dynastic times. They argue that Egypt's greatness was born of its own soil, nurtured by the Nile, not imported from some vanished continent. Yet questions persist. Why do the earliest pyramids appear already perfected in form, as if the knowledge to build them did not evolve gradually, but arrived fully formed? Why does so much of the science embedded in their design, ratios of pi, alignments with Orion's belt, hint at knowledge beyond mere trial and error? The idea of Atlantean architects does not deny Egyptian genius. Rather, it imagines a collaboration across time. Survivors of a lost civilization, carrying the remnants of their wisdom, meeting the ambitions of a rising culture, eager to immortalize itself in stone. Could this explain why the pyramids stand apart from later constructions? Why no subsequent dynasty matched their grandeur? Was the knowledge a gift, fleetingly shared, and then lost again to the sands of time? Archaeological anomalies fuel these questions further. Recent scans of the Giza Plateau suggest that parts of the pyramid's foundations may rest upon even older structures, weathered in ways that predate the accepted timeline. The Sphinx itself bears erosion patterns that some geologists argue were caused by rainfall that last fell upon the Egyptian desert over 7,000 years before the reign of Khufu. If true, These signs could point to origins stretching back not just before the Pharaohs, but before the Ice Age's end, into the very era when Atlantis is said to have flourished. What would it mean if this were true? If the pyramids are more than royal tombs, more than monuments to a single culture? Would they then be global artifacts, shared across civilizations, designed to endure when all else was swept away? Might they serve as a beacon, like a stone archive, preserving the memory of a civilization that the seas consumed? The silence of the pyramids invites us to wonder. They contain no inscriptions of triumph, no scrolls declaring their purpose. Unlike temples, they offer no stories etched into their walls. Instead, they stand mute, their meaning hidden, as if awaiting rediscovery. Could this silence itself be intentional? A message, not in words, but in form and alignment, pointing to the stars, speaking to those who dare to look deeper? Perhaps the question is not whether Atlantis truly existed as a place, but whether its idea represents something universal. The memory of civilizations rising and falling, of knowledge lost and found again. The pyramids may embody that cycle, standing as both a triumph of human will and a whisper of a forgotten age. And if Atlantean architects once walked among the Egyptians, lending their wisdom, then the stones of Giza are more than monuments. They are messages carved across epochs, meant for us as much as for those who built them. So as we gaze upon their timeless forms, we must ask, are we looking at the achievements of one civilization or the echoes of many? Could the pyramids be the last surviving chapter of a story that began long before Egypt, long before history, when an island called Atlantis shone and vanished, leaving behind only legends and stone? From legends of lost continents and whispers of Atlantean architects, the mystery deepens further still. For if the pyramids are not simply the work of ancient Egyptians, nor the gift of forgotten civilizations, then another possibility emerges, one even more unsettling. What if their origin lies not in the past, but in the future? As the sun sets behind the Great Pyramid of Giza, its golden light casts long shadows across the desert sands. The structure stands as it has for thousands of years, its edges sharp, its angles deliberate, aligned with uncanny precision to the cardinal points of the earth. Engineers and mathematicians alike marvel at this accuracy, wondering how such knowledge existed so long ago. Yet some ask a more radical question. Could the builders have known more than they should have? Could they have carried knowledge not of their own time, but of a time yet to come? The theory of time travelers has long lingered at the edge of historical speculation. Unlike tales of alien visitors or lost empires, it does not require distant stars or vanished islands, only the idea that humanity itself, in some distant future, has unlocked the ability to bend time. If so, might travelers from tomorrow have stepped into the sands of ancient Egypt, offering their knowledge to shape the pyramids? Historians and archaeologists emphasize what we know. The Old Kingdom pharaohs commanded vast resources, mobilized thousands of workers, and left evidence of their lives in quarries, in villages, and in tools. Yet, what those records do not explain is the extraordinary foresight embedded in the pyramid's design. The Great Pyramid, for instance, contains within its proportions a near-perfect approximation of the curvature of the Earth. Its dimensions encode mathematical constants that would not be formally documented until thousands of years later. Was this coincidence or foresight? And then there is the question of alignment. The Giza pyramids mirror the stars of Orion's belt with a precision that suggests not only keen observation, but an awareness of celestial movements across vast spans of time. How could builders, with nothing but simple instruments, have achieved such cosmic accuracy? Unless, of course, they had help from those who already knew where the stars would be, not only in their present, but in millennia to come. It is here that the time traveler theory finds its foothold. If the pyramids were built with knowledge from the future, they may represent not only monuments of stone, but messages across time. Could the very stones be markers, designed to endure, carrying secrets that only a future humanity could fully decode? Skeptics dismiss the idea as fantasy. They remind us that human ingenuity has always surprised, that ancient stargazers tracked the skies with patience and skill, and that mathematics can emerge from simple ratios and observations. Yet even skeptics admit the scale of the pyramids remains daunting. Theories of ramps and sledges can explain the movement of blocks, but do they fully explain the precision of alignment, the encoded mathematics, the hidden chambers discovered thousands of years later? Imagine, for a moment, a traveler from centuries ahead, a scientist, an explorer, perhaps even a historian, arriving in the Nile Valley. They would carry knowledge unimaginable to the people of that age. They might guide the placement of stones, the shaping of chambers, the alignment to stars. To those who witnessed it, this guidance might appear divine, miraculous. Could the myths of gods descending from the sky, Thoth, Osiris, or figures carried in the stories of Palestine and beyond, be echoes of such encounters? Did time travelers, mistaken for deities, leave behind not their machines or their tools, but their architecture? Speculation deepens when we consider what the pyramids conceal. In recent years, scanning technologies have revealed hidden voids within the Great Pyramid, chambers untouched for thousands of years, their purpose unknown. Are they simply structural, or do they serve some deeper function? Some suggest these could be time capsules, designed by those who understood not only stone, but the flow of centuries itself. If so, what knowledge might they contain? Could these chambers be awaiting a future discovery, timed precisely for when humanity is ready to understand? The idea of time travelers naturally leads to paradoxes. If they influenced the past, did they also shape their own present? Did they plant seeds of knowledge that ensured their own civilization could one day exist? The pyramids then would not only be monuments to kings, but anchors in a loop of history, binding past and future in ways we can scarcely imagine. Of course, mainstream archaeology does not embrace such notions. It remains grounded in what can be measured, excavated, and tested. Yet even the most careful studies cannot erase the aura of mystery. For the pyramids are more than stone. They are symbols. They speak not only of human ambition, but of possibility. And possibility, in turn, invites imagination. Perhaps the truth is not that the pyramids were built by time travelers, but that their very existence compels us to ask the question. They are so perfect, so enduring, that we wonder whether we ourselves could build their equal today without extraordinary resources. If the answer is uncertain, then the idea that others, whether from a lost civilization, from another world, or from the future, might have shaped them gains power. Standing before the pyramids, the desert winds carrying whispers through the stones, one cannot help but feel a sense of presence, as if the structures themselves are watching, waiting. Could they be markers not only of the past, but of a path yet to come? Are we reading their message backward, when it was meant to be read forward, an echo from the future to remind us of what is possible? And so the question remains. If time travelers once walked among the builders of Egypt, what else did they leave behind? What secrets still lie hidden in the sands, waiting for the moment when we too are ready to see time not as a river flowing one way, but as an ocean where past, present, and future meet in silence beneath the eternal stones? From theories of time travelers bending history to whispers of ancient survivors guiding civilizations, another possibility unfolds, one that stretches not to the stars or the future, but across the very surface of the Earth itself. What if the pyramids are not the isolated triumphs of a single culture, but fragments of a much greater story? What if they are the fingerprints of a lost global civilization? The pyramids of Giza rise from the Egyptian sands, monumental and precise. Yet they are not alone. Thousands of miles away, across oceans and continents, structures of striking similarity appear. Step pyramids in Central America, megalithic temples in Peru, stone platforms in Polynesia, and even enigmatic mounds scattered across North America, all share echoes of geometry, alignment, and purpose. Could this be coincidence? Or does it hint at a shared origin, a forgotten network of builders who once spanned the globe? Mainstream archaeology explains these parallels through independent invention. Human societies, confronted with similar challenges, devised similar solutions. Large stone monuments, after all, provide both practical stability and symbolic permanence. Yet some details resist easy explanation. Why do so many of these structures align with the stars? Why do myths from Egypt, Palestine, Mesopotamia, and the Americas all speak of great floods, of gods descending with knowledge, of golden ages lost to catastrophe? Could these be cultural fragments of a civilization that once touched every shore? The end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago, brought dramatic change. Glaciers melted, seas rose, and coastlines disappeared beneath the waves. This period coincides with myths of floods preserved in countless traditions. The Sumerians wrote of Ziusudra, the Bible of Noah, the Mesopotamians of Utnapishtim, and indigenous cultures of the Americas carried their own deluge legends. Plato spoke of Atlantis sinking in a single night. Could these stories share a common memory, an echo of a real global catastrophe that erased not only lands, but an entire chapter of human history? If so, then the pyramids might stand as survivors of that lost era, either built by it or preserved through it. Their resilience is uncanny. While other monuments crumble, the pyramids endure, as if designed not just to honor kings, but to withstand time itself. Is it possible that they were intended as markers, anchors of memory for a civilization that knew destruction was coming? Evidence of advanced knowledge at impossible dates deepens the mystery. The Great Pyramid encodes ratios reflecting pi and the golden mean. Its placement at the geographic heart of Earth's landmasses seems more than chance. Across the ocean, the pyramids of Teotihuacan align to celestial bodies with similar precision. Even in remote places like Nanmadol in Micronesia or the massive stone terraces of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, blocks of megalithic scale were cut and placed with techniques still debated today. Did isolated cultures coincidentally master such engineering, or were they inheriting knowledge passed down from a single older source? Geological anomalies add weight to these questions. On the Giza Plateau, the Sphinx shows signs of water erosion, patterns some geologists argue could only have formed thousands of years earlier than its accepted date, when heavy rains fell before the Sahara became desert. If true, then Egypt's monuments may be far older than convention allows, hinting at construction during or even before the Ice Age. Who then were the builders? Could they have belonged to that elusive global civilization erased by floodwaters and shifting climates? Mainstream historians caution against overreach. They point to evidence of continuous human settlement, gradual cultural development, and clear connections between monuments and the societies that built them. To them, the idea of a single global culture is not necessary. And yet, questions linger. Why do so many early civilizations seem to appear suddenly, already possessing knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and agriculture? Why do so many myths, across continents that had no contact for millennia, describe the same sequence: a golden age, a great flood, and teachers from afar? Some researchers suggest that this civilization, if it existed, might not have been global in the modern sense, but interconnected coastal cultures linked by seafaring. Rising seas would have erased their ports and cities, leaving only inland monuments, stone reminders that survive where wood, metal, and flesh have long since decayed. If so, then the pyramids may be the most visible remnants of a vast network now hidden beneath oceans. Modern technology continues to push the mystery forward. Satellite mapping reveals lost structures buried beneath jungles and sands. Sonar surveys hint at ruins on continental shelves now submerged. Off the coast of Japan, the Yonaguni Monument stirs debate. Natural formation or sunken megalith? Each discovery adds to the possibility that the story of human civilization is far older and more complex than textbooks suggest. Standing before the Great Pyramid, one cannot help but feel the presence of something larger than Egypt alone. The stones seem to speak not just of one people, but of humanity itself, its ambitions, its memories, its survival. Could it be that the pyramids are not isolated wonders, but keystones of a larger puzzle placed to endure until their meaning could be understood? If so, then we must ask, what was the purpose of such a global civilization? Did it seek to map the heavens, to master energy, to preserve knowledge? And if it fell once, swallowed by the floods of a changing earth, what might its story reveal about our own fragile age? The pyramids endure, silent and immovable, but their silence is not empty. It beckons us to look deeper, to connect the fragments scattered across continents, to ask whether beneath the sands, the seas, and the stones lies the memory of a world that once was. And so the question remains, are the pyramids monuments of kings or monuments of humanity itself? Reminders of a civilization erased yet not entirely forgotten? Could we be walking among the shadows of a story written long before Egypt? A story whose final chapters are still waiting to be uncovered? From whispers of a lost global civilization, we now turn to another possibility. One rooted not in archaeology alone, but in scripture, myth, and the enduring power of faith. The pyramids, rising from the sands of Egypt, have long stood at the crossroads of history and belief. Could their origins be tied not only to pharaohs and dynasties, but also to the biblical world? A world of patriarchs, prophets, and builders whose stories echo across millennia? The Great Pyramid of Giza dominates the horizon, a mountain of stone shaped by human hands. Mainstream Egyptology attributes its construction to Khufu, around 2500 BC. Yet curiously, within the pages of the Bible, there is no direct mention of the pyramids at all. Egypt itself, however, plays a central role in the biblical narrative. Abraham journeys there during famine. Joseph rises to power within its courts. Moses leads the Israelites out from its grasp. The land of the Nile becomes not only a geographic backdrop, but a stage upon which faith and destiny are tested. This absence of explicit reference to the pyramids invites speculation. If these monuments were already ancient in the days of Moses, could they have been connected in some way to biblical figures? Some traditions suggest that Joseph, famed for his wisdom and his foresight, may have played a role in great construction works during his stewardship of Egypt. Could the pyramids, or structures like them, have been linked to his preparation for the 7 years of famine? Though no direct evidence confirms such claims, the association lingers in the imagination. Even earlier, some connect the pyramids to the descendants of Noah. After the Great Flood, an event recorded not only in Genesis, but in Mesopotamian epics and countless world traditions, humanity is said to have spread across the earth. The builders of Babel attempted to raise a tower to heaven, defying the order of God. Could echoes of such stories reflect not only Mesopotamian ziggurats, but the memory of pyramid-building cultures as well? Were the pyramids a continuation of this desire to reach upward, to preserve memory, to anchor humanity to both earth and sky? The Book of Enoch, though not included in most biblical canons, adds further intrigue. It speaks of watchers, beings who descended to Earth, sharing forbidden knowledge with mankind. They taught the arts of metallurgy, astronomy, and architecture. Their interference, according to the text, brought both progress and destruction. Could the pyramids be remnants of such knowledge, passed down to early builders before being lost again in the upheavals of history? The connection between Egypt's monuments and biblical accounts also surfaces in later traditions. Jewish, Christian, and Islamic writers often speculated about the pyramids, wondering if they were storehouses of ancient wisdom built by prophets or kings long before the pharaohs claimed them. Medieval chroniclers in the Arab world recorded legends that the pyramids were built by a figure they called Surid, sometimes identified with the biblical Enoch, to preserve knowledge before the flood. If true, then the pyramids would not only be monuments of stone, but vaults of divine or forbidden secrets. Mainstream historians resist such interpretations, pointing instead to the clear cultural context of Egypt's Old Kingdom. Tombs, temples, and hieroglyphic inscriptions tie the pyramids to the ambitions of their pharaohs. Workers' graffiti inside the Great Pyramid itself records teams named after Khufu, suggesting a human and earthly origin. Yet the biblical perspective lingers because it offers something archaeology cannot: a sense of meaning, of purpose, of continuity between human struggle and divine plan. Could it be that the pyramids, whatever their original intent, became entwined with the biblical imagination precisely because of their silence? Unlike temples covered in inscriptions, the Great Pyramid contains no detailed texts, no carvings proclaiming its purpose. This absence creates a void into which stories can flow, stories of Joseph, of Enoch, of Noah's descendants, of wisdom preserved against catastrophe. Were they tombs, or were they libraries of stone meant to endure when papyrus and parchment crumbled? Consider also the symbolic resonance. The Bible often speaks of stones as witnesses, of monuments as covenants between God and his people. Jacob set up stones at Bethel as a pillar. Joshua raised 12 stones from the Jordan as a memorial. Could the pyramids, colossal beyond comparison, have been viewed in a similar light, as eternal witnesses, standing through ages of flood, famine, and empire? If so, might their survival into our own age be less coincidence than providence? And yet, the questions remain unresolved. Were the pyramids truly connected to biblical builders, or have we simply woven them into the tapestry of Scripture because of their grandeur? Did Joseph or his contemporaries walk beneath their shadows, pondering their mysteries just as we do today? Or do these connections speak less to fact and more to the enduring human desire to link past, present, and faith into one continuous story? The sands of Egypt hold their secrets well. Archaeologists dig, theologians debate, and storytellers speculate. Yet the pyramids remain silent. They offer no clear answers, only enduring presence. For the believer, they may stand as testaments to divine wisdom, preserved from the days of Noah or Enoch. For the historian, they are achievements of human labor, tied to kings and dynasties. For the seeker of mysteries, they are both, and more. And so, as we stand before their towering forms, we must ask, could the pyramids have been shaped not only by human ambition, but by hands guided through faith, prophecy, or divine instruction? Might their stones conceal not just the story of Egypt, but the hidden chapters of the Bible itself? Beneath the burning sun of the Egyptian desert, the pyramids rise like timeless sentinels, their sharp lines etched against the horizon as though carved not by human hands, but by some force far greater. Each block of limestone and granite, weighing several tons, rests with mathematical precision, aligned to the stars, as if guided by principles lost to history. The sheer magnitude of these constructions continues to puzzle researchers. How could an ancient society more than 4,000 years ago, with copper tools and simple ropes, achieve what seems so close to impossible? And in the silence of that question, another idea emerges, a concept so strange, so far-reaching, that it challenges the very foundations of our understanding. What if the ancients had mastered a form of anti-gravity? Archaeologists have long debated the methods by which the pyramids were built, ramps stretching for miles, sledges dragging stones across the sand, and ingenious systems of levers. These explanations fill textbooks and documentaries, yet none of them fully account for the scale of the task. Imagine moving a 70-ton granite block, cut from quarries miles away, across uneven desert terrain, and then lifting it dozens of feet into the air. Even with thousands of laborers, even with decades of toil, the logistics strain belief. Could it be that another technology, one far beyond our conventional view of ancient engineering, played a role? Legends whisper of sound and levitation, of vibrations and tones capable of lifting heavy objects as if the laws of gravity were briefly suspended. Accounts from explorers in the 19th and 20th centuries speak of Tibetan monks allegedly using chants and instruments to move stones with uncanny ease. Skeptics dismiss these stories as exaggerations, yet they linger, fueling speculation that ancient builders might have known secrets now buried under layers of time. Could anti-gravity, or at least gravity manipulation through resonance, have been one of those secrets? Modern physics entertains ideas that, at first glance, seem equally astonishing. Theories of quantum fields, zero-point energy, and gravitational waves suggest that the universe itself is woven with hidden forces. Scientists working on superconductors and magnetic levitation demonstrate how objects can float, suspended without visible support. While these technologies remain confined to laboratories, they show that nature allows for such possibilities. If we can achieve it today in small, controlled conditions, might an earlier civilization have stumbled upon similar principles, applying them on a monumental scale? Consider, too, the peculiar precision of the pyramid stones. Many are set so tightly together that even a razor blade cannot slip between them. Such accuracy implies not only careful planning, but also a method of moving and placing stones with control that surpasses brute force. Some fringe researchers argue that a loss of weight, a temporary nullification of gravity, could explain how massive blocks were not merely dragged, but carefully guided into position, almost as though they floated into place. Could the builders have harnessed acoustic frequencies or electromagnetic forces to achieve this effect? Ancient texts themselves sometimes hint at mysteries. In the writings preserved from Egypt and neighboring lands, references appear to boats of the gods that flew without sails, to objects that defied the earth's pull, to knowledge handed down from divine or semi-divine beings. While mainstream scholars view these accounts as myth or metaphor, others see them as tantalizing echoes of forgotten science. Were these poetic descriptions of spiritual truths, or veiled memories of real technologies once known to humankind? The geography adds another layer to the enigma. The pyramids are not random constructions scattered in the sand. They are aligned with celestial bodies, their placement corresponding with Orion's belt and other constellations. Some theorists suggest that this alignment was not merely symbolic, but functional, that perhaps the builders sought to tap into natural energy fields, creating conditions that might interact with gravity itself. Could the very design of the pyramids, their shape and orientation, have been part of a larger system intended to manipulate forces we still do not fully understand? Mainstream archaeology cautions against such leaps, reminding us that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Yet, the gaps in our knowledge remain. No ancient records detail the building process. No tools capable of cutting or lifting such massive stones with ease have been uncovered. The absence of proof invites speculation, and within that absence, anti-gravity stands as one possibility, however improbable, worth contemplating. What strikes many observers is how quickly the debate turns from stone and sand to something deeper, almost philosophical. If the ancients had indeed discovered a way to negate gravity, what would that say about the rise and fall of civilizations? Knowledge so advanced, lost so completely, suggests a cycle of human history far older and more complex than we imagine. Could it be that the pyramids are not just tombs or monuments, but the last remnants of a technological legacy erased by time and cataclysm? And here lies the heart of the mystery. We do not know. We see the stones, we measure their weight, we trace their alignments with stars, but the mechanism, the how, remains elusive. Perhaps ramps and manpower were enough, as many scholars insist. Or perhaps, hidden in the forgotten chapters of history, there existed a science we have yet to rediscover. Standing at the foot of the Great Pyramid, gazing up at its immense form, one cannot help but feel that something about its construction transcends the ordinary. Were its builders merely master engineers of their age, or custodians of forces beyond our present grasp? Could the secret of anti-gravity be one of the countless truths still buried beneath the sands of Giza? The desert wind whispers no answers, leaving us only with questions. Questions that continue to echo through time, inviting us to wonder what other mysteries the pyramids still guard, silently beneath their ancient stones. From the shadowed corridors of the pyramids, where silence often feels like a language of its own, we move toward a different kind of mystery, one not carved in stone, but carried on in visible waves. The ancient Egyptians were master builders, engineers, and mathematicians, yet many researchers have asked, did they also understand something about sound that modern science is only beginning to rediscover? Imagine standing before the Great Pyramid at Giza, its colossal blocks rising like frozen waves of limestone against the desert sky. Each stone weighs several tons, some even more than 70. How were these massive blocks moved, lifted, and set into place with such precision thousands of years ago? Conventional explanations speak of ramps, sledges, and manpower, yet questions linger. Could sound itself, the unseen force of vibration, have played a role? Sound is more than just something we hear. It is a form of energy, a vibration that can shape matter in astonishing ways. Modern experiments in cymatics, for instance, reveal how grains of sand placed on a vibrating surface arrange themselves into geometric patterns that are both symmetrical and intricate. When certain frequencies are played, shapes emerge that look eerily similar to the motifs carved into temple walls. Could these patterns be echoes of an ancient science of sound? Egyptian texts themselves seem to hint at this. Legends tell of priests chanting in low, resonant tones during rituals, their voices rising in unison within stone chambers. Some accounts even describe objects moving or levitating as hymns were sung. These are often dismissed as myth or exaggeration, yet they invite us to wonder, were these stories symbolic, or were they faint memories of a lost technique? The architecture of Egypt itself seems to suggest an intimate relationship with sound. Inside the Great Pyramid's King's Chamber, for example, visitors often report a deep, resonant hum when even a single note is sung. The granite walls appear to amplify and sustain sound, as though the chamber itself was designed as an acoustic instrument. Engineers who have tested the chamber discovered that it resonates at specific frequencies, almost as if tuned. Could this be mere coincidence, or was it deliberate? The ancients understood harmony, rhythm, and proportion not only in music, but in the cosmos. To them, sound was not entertainment. It was a bridge between the earthly and the divine. In temples across Egypt, architectural features such as vaulted ceilings, narrow passageways, and stone corridors appear to amplify chants and echoes, creating immersive soundscapes that may have had spiritual and psychological effects. But what if this manipulation of sound extended beyond ritual? What if it had a practical, even technological application? Some speculative theories propose that sound vibration could have been used to ease the movement of heavy stones. High-pitched tones, deep resonances, or coordinated chanting might have altered the friction beneath blocks, making them easier to slide. Others suggest that sound waves, when amplified in resonance chambers, could have created vibrations powerful enough to counteract gravity. Perhaps not in the way we imagine levitation today, but enough to make impossibly heavy loads manageable. Intriguingly, similar stories exist outside of Egypt. In ancient Tibet, oral traditions speak of monks who used synchronized chanting and the beating of drums to move massive stones up mountainsides. In the deserts of Palestine, legends tell of prophets who shattered walls with the sound of trumpets. Even in medieval Europe, rumors persisted of builders who sang stones into place. Are these scattered myths fragments of a forgotten science of sound? Mainstream archaeologists caution against such interpretations. They argue that no concrete evidence exists for sound-based construction methods in Egypt. The logistics of ramps and sledges, while challenging, remain more plausible to most scholars. Yet, as with so many mysteries of the pyramids, the lack of definitive answers keeps the door open to possibilities. In modern times, researchers have experimented with sound levitation. Scientists in laboratories today can suspend small objects, droplets of water, bits of styrofoam, using ultrasonic waves. The principle is real. Sound has the power to move matter. While we are far from lifting 70-ton granite blocks, the concept itself demonstrates that sound is more than a fleeting vibration. It is a force capable of physical change. Could ancient builders have discovered a primitive yet effective way of harnessing this same principle? Walking through the ancient ruins, one is struck by the silence. The great stones sit in stillness, but perhaps they once resonated with voices, chants, or instruments now lost to time. Did the builders of the pyramids understand a hidden aspect of sound, one that modern science is only beginning to rediscover? Or are we simply projecting our fascination with the unseen into the gaps of history? What remains undeniable is the way sound lingers in these spaces. In the temples of Luxor, a whisper can travel along a stone corridor as if carried by unseen hands. In the pyramids, a single clap reverberates as though the very walls are speaking back. These effects may have been intentional, acoustic engineering designed to amplify ritual power, to inspire awe, or perhaps to serve a function we no longer understand. Could the mystery of pyramid construction be less about brute strength and more about resonance? Less about ramps and ropes and more about a forgotten mastery of vibration? If so, what does that reveal about the sophistication of ancient knowledge? Perhaps the pyramids are not just monuments of stone, but monuments of sound, silent now, yet once alive with a resonance that shaped both spirit and stone. The question remains: what secrets might still be hidden in the vibrations of these ancient walls, waiting to be heard once again? The sun casts its first light across the Giza Plateau, painting the weathered stones of the pyramids in shades of gold and shadow. From a distance, the Great Pyramid appears eternal, its immense form unshaken by the passing of thousands of years. Yet, as we draw closer, a curious question emerges. What exactly are these blocks made of? To the eye, they seem like quarried limestone, cut and transported with unimaginable effort. But to some researchers, the story may be more complex, and perhaps far more mysterious. The concrete theory suggests that the pyramids were not built solely from massive quarried stones, but instead from a kind of early geopolymer concrete. According to this idea, the ancient builders may have cast some of the blocks on site, pouring a slurry of reconstituted limestone and natural binding agents into wooden molds, letting them harden under the Egyptian sun. At first glance, the theory sounds anachronistic, even implausible. But when we begin to examine the details, the intrigue only deepens. Limestone, the primary material of the pyramids, is not a uniform substance. In many places, it is composed of tiny fossilized shells and marine organisms, compressed over millions of years. When pulverized and mixed with certain natural additives, such as clays, natron, or lime, it can form a cement-like binder. Advocates of the concrete theory point to microscopic studies of pyramid stones that appear to show irregular structures, resembling reconstituted limestone rather than natural quarry rock. Could it be that what looks like solid stone is, in fact, an ancient form of man-made concrete? Mainstream archaeology maintains that the pyramids were built from quarried stone, transported on sledges, and lifted into place using ramps. The evidence for this is strong. Unfinished quarries, tool marks, and ramp remains still exist today. Yet the concrete theory offers a tantalizing alternative to some of the logistical puzzles. Consider the sheer size of the blocks, some weighing several tons. Transporting such weight over long distances would have required immense manpower and ingenuity. But if the blocks were cast in place, the challenge would shift from transportation to chemistry. What is more difficult to imagine? Tens of thousands of workers hauling stones across desert sands, or a group of skilled artisans mixing and pouring a limestone slurry directly into molds. Both scenarios strain our imagination, and yet both could be true in part. Perhaps some blocks were quarried and dragged, while others, especially in higher or more difficult sections, were cast where they now stand. Evidence cited for this possibility lies not only in the stones themselves, but in ancient texts. Natron, a naturally occurring salt mixture used in mummification, was well known to the ancient Egyptians. Lime, clay, and water were all readily available. The combination of these ingredients could, in theory, produce a geopolymer substance strong enough to last millennia. Microscopic air bubbles and unusual mineral distributions observed in some pyramid stones suggest that at least a portion of them may not be entirely natural. Still, the theory is controversial. Many geologists argue that the block's structures are consistent with natural sedimentary rock, quarried and shaped by hand. To them, the irregularities seen under the microscope are simply the result of natural variation, not artificial creation. And yet, the mystery refuses to fade. Why do some blocks fit so seamlessly together, with joints so fine that a blade of grass cannot pass between them? Could pouring a liquid slurry into molds explain the extraordinary precision better than chisels and hammers? As the debate continues, the concrete theory pushes us to reconsider what we think we know about ancient technology. If true, it would mean that the Egyptians were not only master builders, but also master chemists, developing techniques that modern science only rediscovered in the last few centuries. Could such knowledge have been preserved from even earlier times, reaching back to forgotten civilizations before the Ice Age? If the pyramids, or at least portions of them, were cast in place, what does that imply about the origins of their construction? Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid, running a hand along the weathered surface of its stones, one cannot help but feel the weight of these questions. Each block, whether carved from bedrock or molded by human hands, carries within it a mystery. Are we touching a fragment of natural earth, quarried and transported with unimaginable labor? Or are we resting our hand upon one of the earliest examples of human-made stone? The desert wind moves softly between the monuments, as it has for thousands of years, carrying whispers of secrets not yet revealed. Perhaps the answer lies locked in the very chemistry of the stones themselves. Perhaps it lies in knowledge once known, then lost, awaiting rediscovery. Or perhaps the truth is something stranger still, something that defies the boundaries between geology, engineering, and legend. And so we are left with a question that lingers in the air, like an echo from the past. Were the blocks of the pyramids carved, or were they created? And if they were created, what else might the builders of antiquity have known that we have yet to uncover? Beneath the golden glow of the desert sun, the pyramids of Giza rise like silent guardians of time, their weathered stones casting long shadows across the sands. From afar, they appear immutable, as if born from the very earth itself. But step closer, trace your fingers across the smooth edges of their massive blocks, and a question begins to whisper through the silence. How, with tools as primitive as copper chisels and ropes, could ancient builders achieve such staggering precision? The joints between some blocks are so tight that even a razor blade cannot slip through. The angles, the alignments, the sheer size of the stones, some weighing more than 70 tons, seem to defy the mechanical capabilities of the known ancient world. Mainstream archaeology tells us the answer lies in ingenuity, manpower, and perseverance. Thousands of workers, coordinated with extraordinary skill, shaping and hauling stone with simple tools. Yet, as we stand before these monuments, the simplicity of that explanation often feels at odds with the scale of the achievement. The question lingers. Might there have been something more? Could the builders of the pyramids have possessed forms of advanced machinery, technologies lost to time, that allowed them to accomplish what appears nearly impossible by hand? One of the most striking pieces of evidence often cited lies not in the pyramids themselves, but in the quarries. Deep within Aswan, the famous unfinished obelisk rests, a massive monument abandoned mid-carving, larger than any obelisk ever successfully raised. Its sides are smooth, its cuts straight, yet its completion was never realized due to cracks in the stone. Archaeologists attribute its shaping to the relentless pounding of dolerite balls, harder stones used to chip away at the granite. But some researchers see something more. The precision of the cuts, the uniformity of the striations. Could they suggest not pounding by hand, but the use of some mechanical device? Some have even speculated about large saws tipped with materials harder than granite, or perhaps drills of unusual sophistication. The mystery deepens when one examines the tool marks left on stone surfaces. At sites in both Giza and other parts of ancient Egypt, spiral grooves etched into hard stone appear as though cut by a rotating tool. For some, this suggests the use of tubular drills, possibly tipped with diamond or another material capable of cutting granite with ease. Mainstream scholars counter that sand, water, and copper tubes could achieve similar effects over time, though at a slower pace. Still, the remarkable speed and symmetry implied by these markings raise questions that simple abrasives seem to struggle to answer. Even more puzzling are the blocks themselves. The granite beams in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid weigh between 40 and 80 tons each. To this day, the logistics of raising and positioning them within the structure remain uncertain. Conventional theories suggest wooden sledges dragged over ramps lubricated with water, powered by sheer manpower. But would human effort alone suffice to move such immense stones across desert terrain and up inclined ramps? Some fringe theorists have suggested the possibility of lifting devices, counterweights, or even mechanical cranes far beyond what we attribute to the Bronze Age. Others point to the remarkable precision within the pyramid's inner chambers. The Grand Gallery, with its steep, ascending passage and corbelled ceiling, feels almost mechanical in design. The cuts are clean, the alignments exact, as though shaped not just by hands, but by guided instruments. Could this have been achieved by rudimentary but effective machines? Wooden gears, pulleys, perhaps even water-powered devices, now lost to history? Or does the perfection suggest an even more advanced form of technology, one whose origins we cannot yet trace? A particularly intriguing line of thought arises when comparing Egyptian stonework to that of other ancient cultures. At sites in Peru, such as Sacsayhuaman, massive stones fit together with puzzle-like precision, interlocking without mortar. The similarity in craftsmanship across continents has led some to suggest that these civilizations may have shared knowledge or rediscovered the same lost techniques. If the builders of the pyramids had access to machinery capable of cutting, drilling, or lifting with efficiency, then perhaps these tools traveled farther than we realize, leaving behind enigmatic legacies scattered across the globe. Skeptics, of course, caution against leaping to conclusions. They argue that human ingenuity, patience, and centuries of trial and error can explain much of what seems mysterious. 1,000 workers with simple tools, working tirelessly over decades, could indeed leave behind marvels that still baffle us today. Yet the possibility of machinery remains tantalizing, if only because the physical evidence hints at methods more efficient than the conventional story suggests. The deeper one looks, the stranger the puzzle becomes. Could the ancient Egyptians have possessed machines powered by means unfamiliar to us? Perhaps by water, wind, or even forms of energy now lost? Or were they masters of leveraging simple tools in ways we have yet to rediscover? Standing in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, these questions echo in the silence. The stones hold their secrets close, their tool marks and alignments whispering of methods unseen. Was it truly just hammer and chisel, rope and sweat, or something more? The mystery remains, urging us to look deeper, to wonder whether traces of ancient machines still lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to rewrite our understanding of the past. The sun casts its first light over the Giza Plateau, turning the desert sands a shimmering gold. The pyramids rise in silence, their massive stone faces absorbing the heat of the day as they have for thousands of years. Visitors stand at their base, craning their necks upward, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of these ancient monuments. Each block, some weighing more than 70 tons, appears impossibly placed, fitted with a precision that defies even our most advanced modern engineering tools. And yet, beyond the marvel of their construction, a deeper, stranger question lingers. How were these immense stones transported across vast distances and lifted to such staggering heights? Mainstream archaeology offers answers rooted in ingenuity, labor, and determination. Wooden sledges, ropes, and manpower, perhaps aided by water or mud to reduce friction, could explain some aspects of the feat. Quarry sites in nearby areas like Tura and Aswan reveal where certain stones originated. But even with these theories, gaps remain. How were the heaviest granite blocks, hauled from quarries nearly 500 miles away, transported through rugged terrain? Could ropes and sledges alone account for the placement of stones so precise that even a razor blade cannot slip between them? It is here, in the silence of unanswered questions, that more speculative theories emerge. Some researchers propose that the ancient builders might have possessed knowledge now lost to us, techniques that went far beyond brute strength and simple tools. Among the most provocative of these ideas is the possibility of stone teleportation, an astonishing concept that challenges our very understanding of reality. The notion seems almost unthinkable. Teleportation belongs to the realm of science fiction, a vision of distant futures rather than ancient pasts. And yet, scattered fragments of myth and legend across cultures whisper of such powers. Egyptian texts speak of the gods wielding forces beyond comprehension, commanding the elements with words alone. Could these stories, passed down through generations, be veiled memories of technologies once known and later forgotten? Some fringe theorists point to accounts from early travelers in the Middle East and North Africa, tales that describe objects moving without touch, lifted by sound, or carried by unknown forces. Tibetan monks, too, have been rumored to use chants and resonant instruments to shift heavy stones, with explorers in the 20th century claiming to have witnessed such feats. Could the Egyptians have mastered something similar, using vibration, resonance, or energy fields to move massive stones as if they were weightless? Here, modern physics offers an unexpected doorway. Scientists today experiment with acoustic levitation, using sound waves to suspend small objects in midair. Others explore quantum entanglement and teleportation at the particle level, demonstrating that matter, at its most fundamental, behaves in ways that defy common sense. While no technology yet exists to teleport massive objects, the principles hint at possibilities far beyond our current grasp. If even fragments of such knowledge had been discovered in the deep past, perhaps before the Ice Age, when civilizations may have risen and fallen unrecorded, could it explain the enduring mystery of pyramid construction? Skeptics argue that these ideas, while intriguing, rest on shaky ground. The archaeological evidence, they say, points more reliably to human labor, clever engineering, and sheer determination. Ramp systems, though imperfect in design, could have been adapted in ways we do not yet fully understand. After all, civilizations across the world accomplished incredible feats with limited tools. Consider the moai of Easter Island or the stone walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru. But even here, the same question lingers. Why do so many of these cultures leave behind echoes of lost knowledge, myths of gods or ancestors who commanded extraordinary powers? Standing before the Great Pyramid, it is easy to feel the pull of such mysteries. The stones loom in silence, as if guarding secrets from an age we can scarcely imagine. The desert wind moves softly around the ancient blocks, carrying with it whispers of forgotten times. Could the builders have unlocked forces of nature we are only beginning to rediscover? Did they understand vibration, resonance, or magnetism in ways that allowed them to manipulate matter itself? Or are we projecting our own technological dreams onto a past that was, at its core, simply human? The possibility of teleportation raises profound implications. If such a technology once existed, even in rudimentary form, what else might have been possible? Were the pyramids not only tombs or monuments, but also demonstrations of knowledge, messages carved in stone for future generations to ponder? Could the precision and scale of their construction be less about labor and more about revealing a mastery of laws of physics that remain hidden from us today? And yet, no definitive evidence has surfaced. No machine, no written record, no blueprint of teleportation has been found. What remains are the stones themselves, silent and immovable, daring us to question, to wonder, to dream. Perhaps the builders relied only on determination and skill, their achievements a testament to human perseverance. Or perhaps, hidden within the folds of history, there once existed a knowledge so extraordinary it slipped from memory, leaving behind only rumors, myths, and the enduring enigma of the pyramids. As the light fades across the desert and shadows lengthen across the stones, the question remains suspended in the still air. Were these colossal blocks moved by hands and ropes alone, or was there once a forgotten science, a force beyond our present understanding that allowed them to vanish from one place and appear in another? The pyramids stand silent, their answer locked within the ages, inviting us to look deeper, to listen closer, and to ask, with a sense of wonder, what truths may still lie buried in their shadow. Beneath the blazing desert sun, the pyramids rise from the sands like sentinels of another age. Their colossal stones, worn yet defiant against time, seem to speak a language not of this world, but of the cosmos itself. As the day fades into night, shadows stretch across the plateau, and the stars awaken one by one. In that vast expanse of darkness, 3 points of light appear with remarkable clarity: Al-Natak, Al-Nilam, and Mintaka, the stars of Orion's belt. Their alignment in the heavens has fascinated stargazers for millennia, but here on Earth, the question emerges: could these stars hold a secret connection to the pyramids themselves? Archaeologists, historians, and astronomers alike have long debated the possibility that the Great Pyramids of Giza were not only monuments to kings, but celestial markers tied to the sky above. The arrangement of the 3 main pyramids, Khufu, Khafra, and Menkore, does not form a perfect line. Instead, the smallest of them, Menkaure, sits slightly off-center, shifted to the side. To some, this irregularity seems intentional, almost as if it mirrors the asymmetry of Orion's belt. When viewed from above, the resemblance is striking. Could this be mere coincidence, or evidence of a sophisticated astronomical plan woven into the very fabric of ancient architecture? Mainstream scholars often argue that the alignment of the pyramids could reflect religious or cultural symbolism. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Orion was associated with Osiris, the god of death, resurrection, and the afterlife. To align monuments with the stars connected to such a powerful deity would make sense in the context of ritual and belief. The pyramids, after all, were not only tombs, but gateways to eternity. To position them beneath the stars of Orion might have been a way to guide the pharaoh's soul toward the afterlife, ensuring his place among the gods. But even this explanation leaves lingering questions. The precision of the alignment, both on Earth and in the heavens, seems almost too exact. Some researchers have pointed out that if one maps Orion's belt against the pyramids, the correlation becomes even stronger when the sky is projected not as it appears today, but as it would have looked thousands of years ago. This brings us into the realm of archaeoastronomy, the study of how ancient structures reflect celestial patterns. According to the Orion correlation theory, most famously proposed by Robert Bauval in the 1990s, the pyramids were designed as a mirror of the stars during a specific time in Earth's distant past. When astronomical software is used to roll back the night sky, a remarkable alignment appears around 10,500 BC. During this epoch, Orion's belt and the Milky Way align closely with the layout of the pyramids and the Nile River. Could this suggest that the builders were aware of precessional cycles, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that alters the position of stars over thousands of years? If so, it would mean the pyramid architects possessed knowledge of astronomy far beyond what is traditionally attributed to early civilizations. Skeptics argue that such correlations are subjective, that humans naturally look for patterns in chaos. After all, the stars are countless, and alignments can be drawn in endless ways. From this perspective, the resemblance between Orion's belt and the pyramids may be nothing more than a coincidence magnified by human imagination. Yet, the sense of intentional design refuses to fade. Even if the correlation was symbolic rather than scientific, it demonstrates a profound awareness of the cosmos. Still, more speculative voices push the discussion further. Could the pyramids have been constructed not merely as tombs, but as part of a grander scheme, an earthly reflection of the heavens? Some theories suggest that the pyramids functioned as a kind of cosmic map, anchoring celestial knowledge in stone. Others wonder whether the alignment with Orion hints at lost knowledge from a civilization predating dynastic Egypt, a culture that may have flourished before the Ice Age, leaving behind only whispers in myth and monumental stone. Standing on the Giza Plateau under the brilliance of Orion, one cannot help but ask, how much did the ancient builders truly know about the stars? Were they casual observers, crafting myths from the patterns above? Or were they skilled astronomers who encoded cycles of time and cosmic truths into the very shape of the Earth's most enduring monuments? As night deepens, the stars seem to press closer, their cold light glinting off the limestone edges of the pyramids. The belt of Orion shines with unwavering clarity, its pattern echoed in the silent geometry of stone. The parallel is undeniable, but its meaning remains elusive. Is it a simple gesture of reverence to Osiris, a cosmic roadmap for the Pharaoh's soul, or a message from a forgotten epoch of human history? The mystery endures. For every mainstream explanation, there lingers an alternate possibility, one that beckons us to consider that the pyramids may not only be monuments of Earth, but monuments of the sky. And so, the question lingers in the cool desert night. If the builders aligned their greatest works with Orion, what else might they have aligned? And what knowledge might still lie hidden beneath the sands, waiting to be uncovered? Beneath the scorching Egyptian sun, the pyramids rise from the desert sands like immovable monuments to an intelligence both ancient and enigmatic. Their angled stones, weathered by millennia, stand in perfect geometry against the horizon. From a distance, they seem silent, timeless, almost eternal. Yet, as countless researchers have discovered, these structures may hold more than just the story of kings and tombs. Embedded within their proportions, some believe, lies a mathematical code, one that resonates not only with human invention, but with the very framework of the universe itself. As we move deeper into the enigma of the pyramids, a new question emerges. Are these monuments simply architectural feats, or are they repositories of hidden knowledge, encoded in numbers, ratios, and measurements that transcend their time? When scholars began to analyze the dimensions of the Great Pyramid at Giza, they noticed something strange. Its base, perimeter, and height seemed to align with fundamental constants of mathematics and nature. For instance, when the perimeter of the base is compared to the pyramid's height, the ratio approximates 2 times the mathematical constant pi. Others point out that its slope seems to encode the golden ratio, a number that recurs throughout nature, from the spirals of galaxies to the growth patterns of shells and sunflowers. Was this intentional? Could an ancient civilization, long before modern mathematics, have encoded such principles within stone? Mainstream Egyptology tends to view such correspondences as coincidence, or at most, as products of practical design choices rather than deliberate messages. Builders, they argue, sought stability and balance, and the resulting geometry naturally approximated familiar mathematical constants. Yet, the precision remains difficult to dismiss. The Great Pyramid's base is aligned to true north, with an accuracy that modern surveyors still marvel at. Its dimensions are consistent across massive distances, with error margins so slight that they rival modern construction standards. How could a civilization without advanced tools have achieved such exactness, unless they possessed knowledge now lost to history? Beyond geometry, some suggest the pyramids reflect a deeper harmony with Earth itself. Measurements of the Great Pyramid have been linked to the size of our planet. Its height, multiplied by a certain factor, approximates the Earth's radius. Its perimeter, likewise, is said to reflect the planet's circumference. Did the ancient builders somehow know the scale of the Earth? Or are we seeing patterns where none were intended? This question divides scholars, leaving the debate suspended between scientific skepticism and the lure of ancient mystery. But the code may extend beyond the Earth. Some researchers point toward the possibility that the pyramids are an expression of cosmic order. Ratios within their design appear to reflect the relationship between the Earth and the Moon, as well as orbital cycles of celestial bodies. To skeptics, this is coincidence, a case of selective interpretation. Yet, to others, it suggests that whoever designed the pyramids had a grasp of astronomy and mathematics that defies our current timeline of human development. If this mathematical code truly exists, where did it come from? Did the builders discover it through centuries of careful observation of the heavens and the earth? Or, as some more speculative theories suggest, did they inherit knowledge from an earlier, forgotten civilization, one that may have thrived before the Ice Age and whose wisdom was preserved in stone when all else was lost to flood and time? It is worth noting that mathematics has often been described as a universal language. The golden ratio, pi, the cycles of planetary motion, all are constants that exist independent of culture or time. They are the silent architecture of nature itself. If the pyramids embody these constants, could it mean they were intended not merely as tombs or monuments, but as messages, codified truths meant to endure across ages, waiting for those who could read them? Some even speculate that the pyramids serve as a kind of bridge between the earthly and the cosmic. Their form, pointing toward the heavens, and their mathematical harmony with celestial patterns, might suggest that they were designed to link human existence with universal order. Were they reminders that humanity is not separate from the cosmos, but woven into its design? Others take the theory further still, proposing that the pyramids encode not only natural constants, but messages left by intelligences beyond our own planet. If mathematics is indeed the universal language, then perhaps these numbers and ratios are not coincidence but communication, signposts meant to be discovered when humanity reached a certain level of understanding. Such ideas remain on the fringes of speculation, yet they raise unsettling questions. Could it be that the pyramids are not only monuments of the past, but signals to the future? And then there is the mystery of intent. If ancient builders deliberately encoded a mathematical code of the universe into their work, why? Was it an attempt to preserve sacred knowledge? A way to harmonize their monuments with the cosmos itself? Or perhaps a warning, a reminder that civilizations rise and fall, but truth, written in numbers, endures? The stones of the pyramids do not answer. They stand silent in the desert, their meaning forever debated, their secrets layered in both fact and possibility. Scholars, mathematicians, and dreamers alike continue to measure, calculate, and compare, uncovering new patterns with each generation. But for every equation solved, another question arises. What if, hidden within the Great Pyramid, lies a blueprint not only of Earth, but of the universe itself? What if its builders, whether human or something more, sought to leave behind a legacy of knowledge, one that could outlast floods, empires, and even ice ages? As the sun sets behind the pyramids, casting their long shadows across the desert, one cannot help but wonder, are these shadows mere remnants of ancient kings, or echoes of a far greater mystery still waiting to be solved? From the silent geometry of numbers hidden within the stones, our attention shifts upward, toward the sky itself. For the pyramids do not stand alone as monuments of stone, but as markers of time, aligned with the heavens as though Earth and cosmos were bound in a dialogue beyond our understanding. Picture a night in Giza thousands of years ago. The desert air is cool, the horizon stretching unbroken under a canopy of stars. The Great Pyramid rises against the darkness, its edges cutting clean lines into the sky. As the constellations drift slowly overhead, one realizes this structure was not only meant to endure on the ground, it was meant to speak to the stars. Historians and archaeologists have long noted the pyramid's remarkable alignment to true north. Even with modern instruments, achieving such precision is no small task. How did ancient builders, without telescopes or compasses, orient millions of limestone blocks with such accuracy? The mainstream explanation suggests they may have used simple tools, a plumb line, a water-filled trench, or the observation of stars circling the celestial pole. And yet, the margin of error remains astonishingly small. far smaller than many later monuments built with far more advanced instruments. Was this coincidence or intentional mastery? As researchers have looked deeper, they have noticed that the pyramid's connections to the heavens extend beyond mere orientation. The so-called air shafts of the Great Pyramid, once dismissed as ventilation, appear to line up with specific stars. Around 2500 BC, one shaft pointed directly toward Orion's belt, an asterism long associated with Osiris, the god of rebirth. Another pointed toward Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, linked to the goddess Isis. If these alignments were deliberate, the pyramid may have functioned as a kind of celestial clock, its stones forever fixed to the cycles of the heavens. But the mystery deepens. Some scholars, working outside of conventional archaeology, suggest that the pyramids could serve as markers of time on a scale far greater than human lifespans. The precession of the equinoxes, the slow wobble of Earth's axis, causes the stars' positions to drift over millennia. What if the pyramid's alignments were designed to track these vast cycles? Could it be that its builders were encoding knowledge of time itself, stretching across tens of thousands of years? Here we encounter the controversial Orion correlation theory. Proposed in the 1990s, it suggests that the three pyramids of Giza mirror the three stars of Orion's belt, not only in shape, but in placement, with the smallest pyramid offset just slightly, echoing the smallest star. If true, this alignment would not have been perfect in 2500 BC. Instead, the match seems closer to the sky as it appeared around 10,500 BC, an age far earlier than traditional history allows for pyramid building. Could this imply that the pyramids were conceived not in the age of pharaohs, but in a forgotten era, before the Ice Age ended? Mainstream scholars caution against such interpretations. They argue that human imagination often sees patterns where none exist, and that alignments may be coincidental. Yet the question remains, why do so many features of the pyramids seem to echo the heavens with such precision? Even the Sphinx, facing east, appears to gaze at the rising sun during the spring equinox, another celestial marker locked in stone. The deeper one looks, the more the pyramid begins to resemble not merely a tomb, but a cosmic calendar. Some researchers believe it may have recorded not just annual cycles, but epochs, vast spans of time measured by the shifting stars. If so, what purpose would such a marker serve? To remind future generations of a cosmic order? To warn of cycles of catastrophe? Or to anchor human civilization within the eternal rhythm of the sky? Consider the possibility that the builders, whoever they were, wished to create a monument that would not only endure for thousands of years, but remain synchronized with the universe itself. As the stars move and ages change, the pyramid would continue to bear witness, its angles and corridors silently measuring the passage of cosmic time. And yet, this invites another question. How did they know? How could a civilization with no telescopes, no written equations, and no known scientific instruments possess knowledge of precession, alignments, and stellar cycles? Was it careful, centuries-long observation? Was it the inheritance of knowledge from an earlier, forgotten age? Or was it something else entirely? The desert wind whispers no answers. The stars still drift above the pyramids as they have for countless nights, their slow movements nearly imperceptible to the human eye, but perhaps not to those who set stone upon stone with such deliberate care. What if, encoded in these alignments, lies not merely a reflection of the night sky, but a message meant to outlast empires, languages, and even ice ages? A message we are only beginning to recognize, but not yet able to fully understand. And so the question lingers, suspended in the stillness of the desert night. Are the pyramids simply monuments of stone, or are they timekeepers of the cosmos, silently marking cycles far older and perhaps far more profound than we have ever imagined. Beneath the blazing Egyptian sun, the Great Pyramid stands in eternal silence, its weathered limestone blocks catching the shifting hues of daylight. To the casual observer, it is a monument to a bygone age of kings and pharaohs, a grand tomb built to honor the dead. Yet to others, it is more than stone and geometry. It is a message across time, a vessel of hidden knowledge. Some believe that within its precise angles and carefully measured passages lies a prophetic code, one that stretches far beyond the reigns of ancient dynasties. Could the pyramid itself be a book of stone, foretelling not just the past, but the future of humanity? Mainstream Egyptology sees these structures as funerary monuments, constructed under the reign of Khufu, around 2500 BC. The official narrative emphasizes human ingenuity, organization, and devotion. But for centuries, explorers, mystics, and scholars have suggested another possibility: that the very dimensions of the pyramids encode timelines, astronomical cycles, and even predictions of events yet to unfold. This idea, controversial and often dismissed, nonetheless persists. And the deeper one peers into the geometry, the more difficult it becomes to ignore the curious coincidences that arise. Take the so-called pyramid inch theory, first proposed in the late 19th century. Advocates claim that the inner passageways of the Great Pyramid were designed with a unit of measurement equivalent to a pyramid inch, slightly different from the modern inch. According to this interpretation, the lengths of corridors and chambers align with historical milestones. Each inch, it is said, represents a year, and when measured carefully, the passages mark turning points in human history. Events like the Exodus, the birth of Christ, and even the devastation of world wars. Could this be chance, or did the ancient builders inscribe the destiny of humanity into stone? Critics argue that such correlations are the product of selective measurement, shaped to fit preconceived conclusions. After all, with a monument of such immense size and complexity, it is not difficult to find patterns that appear significant. Yet the allure of prophecy encoded in the pyramids remains. It speaks to something deeper, a human desire to believe that the past reaches forward to touch the present, that ancient wisdom is not lost but merely hidden, waiting to be uncovered. The fascination with encoded prophecies is not limited to dimensions. Some researchers turn to the shafts that angle upward from the king's and queen's chambers. Aligned with stars and constellations, these shafts seem to point toward Orion, Sirius, and other celestial markers. Were they symbolic passages for the pharaoh's soul, as Egyptologists insist? Or were they placed deliberately to signal specific ages in human history? Could these alignments themselves serve as a kind of clock, mapping the precession of the equinoxes and hinting at cosmic cycles far greater than the span of a single reign? Others suggest that prophecy is embedded not just in numbers and alignments, but in the pyramid's very symbolism. The shape of the pyramid, with its base anchored to the earth and apex pointing skyward, has been interpreted as a metaphor for spiritual ascent, a journey from matter to spirit, from mortality to eternity. In this view, the pyramid is not only a tomb, but also a teaching tool, one that whispers of transformation, renewal, and destiny. Perhaps the encoded prophecy is not about specific dates or disasters, but about the future of humankind as a whole, an invitation to rise above our earthly struggles and rediscover our connection to the divine. There are even more speculative theories. Some point to the so-called Hall of Records, a legendary chamber said to contain the wisdom of a civilization that existed long before dynastic Egypt, perhaps even before the Ice Age. If such a record exists, could it hold prophecies of cycles of destruction and rebirth, warnings written for those who would inherit the earth millennia later? Despite exhaustive searches, no such hall has been found beneath the sands of Giza. Yet the idea persists, woven into stories of hidden chambers and unexplored passageways. And then there are the numbers themselves, those haunting ratios that seem to defy coincidence. The Great Pyramid's dimensions appear to encode the circumference of the Earth, the distance to the Sun, and even mathematical constants like pi and the golden ratio. If such knowledge was intentionally preserved, what does it suggest? That the builders were far more advanced than history records? That they sought to leave behind a universal message, one that would endure through the rise and fall of civilizations? Could prophecy itself be hidden not in dates, but in the timeless language of mathematics? The mystery deepens when we consider that prophecies, real or imagined, are rarely about certainty. They exist in the tension between what is known and what is feared, between hope and dread. If the pyramids do encode prophecies, are they warnings of catastrophe, messages of hope, or reflections of cycles that humanity cannot escape? Standing before the weathered stones today, one cannot help but wonder, were these structures meant to endure as silent witnesses, their secrets revealed only when humanity reached the capacity to understand them? Or are we reading too much into patterns that are nothing more than the byproduct of human imagination? The debate continues, with archaeologists, mathematicians, mystics, and skeptics all offering their interpretations. But the pyramid itself remains silent. Its stones neither confirm nor deny, leaving us suspended in the space between fact and mystery. And so we return to the question that has haunted generations of seekers. If the Great Pyramid does hold encoded prophecies, what do they reveal about our past, our present, and perhaps most unsettling of all, our future? In the cool silence of the Giza Plateau, as the evening sun casts long shadows across the limestone blocks, a different kind of pattern begins to emerge. To the casual observer, the pyramids rise as monumental tombs of forgotten kings, their angles sharp against the fading light. But to those who study the heavens, the placement of these colossal structures seems to whisper of something far more profound, an ancient connection to the stars themselves. For decades, scholars, astronomers, and explorers alike have noted the striking resemblance between the three pyramids of Giza and the three stars of Orion's belt. From above, the alignment appears deliberate, the slight offset of the smallest pyramid mirroring the faintest of Orion's jewels, Mintaka. This observation has become one of the most enduring enigmas of Egyptology. Was this simply coincidence, or could the builders have been encoding a map of the heavens onto the earth itself? Mainstream archaeology explains the alignment as symbolic, a way for the ancient Egyptians to link their pharaohs with Osiris, the god of resurrection, who was closely associated with Orion. The pyramids, in this interpretation, were not just tombs, but gateways to eternity, celestial launch points designed to guide the souls of kings toward the afterlife among the stars. Such a belief system is deeply rooted in Egyptian cosmology, where the sky was a sacred canvas and the gods moved across it in eternal cycles. Yet, even with this understanding, questions linger. The precision of the alignment, the vast scale of the project, and the uncanny mirroring of a stellar formation that would only appear in such an arrangement around 10,500 BC have fueled alternative theories. If the pyramids were meant to reflect the stars as they appeared in that distant epoch, could it mean they were conceived or planned in a time far earlier than accepted history suggests? Could the pyramids themselves be evidence of knowledge passed down from a civilization whose roots stretch back before the Ice Age? The speculation deepens when we consider not only Orion, but other celestial connections. Some researchers point to the shafts inside the Great Pyramid, narrow passages that angle upward toward specific stars. One aligns with Orion, another with Sirius, and still others appear to point to circumpolar stars, eternal fixtures of the night sky. These architectural choices suggest not only symbolic meaning but also advanced astronomical knowledge, a mastery of the heavens that seems remarkable for a society more than 4,000 years old. And then there is the more provocative idea that the pyramids themselves form part of an interstellar map, not just a symbolic reflection of the sky, but a literal marker designed to be read from above. When mapped alongside other ancient structures around the world, such as Teotihuacan in Mexico, Angkor in Cambodia, or even certain megalithic sites in Europe, some researchers argue that these monuments appear to form a network, each echoing constellations visible from Earth. Could it be that ancient builders were following a blueprint, one that connected distant lands under the same celestial map? Theories that invoke extraterrestrial origins often emerge at this point. If, as some suggest, the pyramids encode a star map, who was it meant for? Was it designed for human eyes alone, to honor the gods and guide souls? Or could it have been intended as a message, one visible from the skies, a marker to announce humanity's presence to visitors from beyond? The scale of the pyramids, visible for miles in every direction, lends itself to such speculation. Even today, pilots and astronauts remark on their prominence when viewed from above. Could this have been part of their original purpose? Skeptics argue that such ideas risk underestimating the ingenuity of the ancient Egyptians. Human hands, guided by religious devotion and astronomical observation, were entirely capable of creating these alignments. To attribute them to alien intervention, they say, strips humanity of its rightful achievements. Yet even these voices admit that the pyramid alignments are among the most compelling architectural mysteries of the ancient world. The deeper we study them, the more questions arise. Consider, too, the pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious writings known to us. Within their hymns and invocations are repeated references to the pharaoh ascending to the stars, to becoming one with Orion, to joining the eternal company of the gods in the night sky. These words, carved into stone more than 4,000 years ago, reinforce the idea that the pyramids were not just structures of stone, but cosmic instruments designed to bind earth and sky. Yet, how did the builders achieve such a sophisticated astronomical design without telescopes or modern instruments? And if the builders encoded not just religious symbolism but precise stellar knowledge into their monuments, what else might they have hidden in plain sight? Could the layout of Giza be part of a larger code, one that extends beyond Egypt's borders? Might the pyramids be one fragment of a greater map, pointing not only to the heavens, but also to other ancient sites across the earth? As we stand before these silent giants, their limestone faces worn but unyielding, we are left with more questions than answers. Did the pyramids serve as cosmic gateways, as funerary temples, as astronomical observatories, or as something still beyond our imagination? If their alignment truly reflects a star map, was it simply the devotion of a culture to its gods? Or could it have been part of a message to beings far beyond our world? The sands of time have buried much, but not enough to erase the sense that the pyramids hold secrets still waiting to be unlocked. Perhaps they are exactly what mainstream history says they are, grand monuments of faith and power. Or perhaps, hidden in their geometry and alignment, is a star map that challenges the very timeline of human civilization. And so we are left to wonder, are the pyramids silent tombs? Or are they messages written in stone, addressed not just to the ancient Egyptians, but to the stars themselves? Beneath the desert sun, the pyramids of Giza rise with an austere silence, their sharp edges casting shadows that stretch across the golden sands. From a distance, they appear timeless, immovable monuments of stone resting quietly against the horizon. Yet, as we draw closer, questions emerge. Could these immense structures, built with astonishing precision, have once served a purpose far beyond that of tombs or mere monuments? Could they have functioned, in some way, as power plants of a forgotten age? The theory is unconventional, even controversial, but it continues to intrigue researchers, engineers, and visionaries who look at the Great Pyramid not as a symbol of death, but as a living machine. Its alignment with the cardinal directions, its internal chambers and shafts, and the choice of materials used in its construction, granite, limestone, and sandstone, suggest to some that the builders were experimenting with forces we are only beginning to understand. Mainstream Egyptology maintains that these structures were tombs, expressions of royal power and testaments to architectural mastery. And yet, no body has ever been discovered inside the Great Pyramid. No inscriptions, no funerary decorations, nothing that ties it conclusively to the role of a traditional tomb. Instead, we find chambers shaped with deliberate geometry, tunnels pointing skyward, and resonant stone passages that hum faintly when struck. Why such precision if their purpose was merely symbolic? One of the most intriguing details lies in the materials themselves. Granite, used in the king's chamber, contains high levels of quartz, known for its piezoelectric properties. When pressure is applied to quartz, it can generate an electric charge. Surrounding this granite core is limestone, a poor conductor of electricity, but an excellent insulator. Could it be that the very composition of the pyramid was designed to channel or store energy? If so, what kind of energy were the ancient builders harnessing, and for what purpose? Some researchers point to the subterranean chamber beneath the pyramid, with its enigmatic carved pit and water-filled passages. It is possible that groundwater, flowing beneath the structure, could have created vibrations or currents. Combined with the quartz-rich granite above, the pyramid might have acted as a resonant chamber, amplifying natural frequencies in ways we do not yet fully understand. Could it have been a type of harmonic generator, pulling energy from the earth itself? The idea is not without parallels in nature. Consider how certain geological formations produce natural electrical currents, or how sound waves can resonate within caves and chambers. The pyramid, with its deliberate design, may have amplified these phenomena. To some, this points to the possibility of an ancient attempt at energy manipulation, a way of tapping into the planet's unseen forces. Skeptics counter that these interpretations are imaginative, stretching isolated facts into grand theories. They remind us that cultures throughout history have imbued their monuments with symbolic meanings tied to cosmology, death, and rebirth. To them, the granite's properties are incidental, the limestone's insulation irrelevant, the flowing water a simple byproduct of natural geology. And yet, even they must admit, the Great Pyramid stands apart from other ancient structures in its scale, precision, and enduring mystery. Moving further into speculative territory, some suggest that the pyramid could have produced not electricity in the modern sense, but a form of energy tied to vibration, sound, or resonance. Ancient accounts speak of the pyramids singing when winds passed over them. Modern experiments have revealed that the chambers within the Great Pyramid can amplify specific sound frequencies. Could it be that the builders were experimenting with acoustics as a form of energy, an energy we scarcely understand, but one they may have harnessed? Others draw attention to the similarities between the pyramid's structure and modern power-generating technologies. The descending passage leading deep into the earth, the central chamber built with crystalline stone, and the placement of shafts and vents that align with both celestial and terrestrial forces. These echo aspects of power plants, hydroelectric systems, and even resonant cavities used in physics laboratories. Are these resemblances coincidental, or do they point to a knowledge lost in the shadows of time? Consider, too, the legends preserved in ancient texts. Some stories hint at the pyramids as storehouses of power, structures that once glowed or emitted a strange energy. Though often dismissed as metaphor, such accounts remind us that myths are rarely born from nothing. Could they preserve echoes of a forgotten truth, distorted through generations of retelling? If the pyramids were indeed power plants, one must ask, power for what? Were they meant to light vast cities of the Nile Valley, to drive technologies now lost, or to serve as beacons, transmitting energy across distances? Or was the energy more symbolic, spiritual in nature, a bridge between the earthly and the divine? The answers remain elusive, hidden within layers of stone and time. Scientists, archaeologists, and engineers continue to probe the mysteries of these monuments, some dismissing the power plant theory outright, others cautiously entertaining its possibilities. What remains undeniable is that the pyramids provoke curiosity unlike any other structure on Earth. Their scale, their precision, and their silence demand explanation. Standing before the Great Pyramid, one cannot help but wonder, was this vast edifice truly just a tomb? Or was it a machine, pulsing once with a force that lit the desert night? Did its builders unlock a source of energy long before our own civilization rediscovered electricity? Or are we projecting our modern understanding of power back onto a culture whose genius lay in ways we can scarcely imagine? The desert wind sweeps across the stones, carrying no answers, only questions. And as the sun dips below the horizon, the pyramid looms in the fading light, silent, enduring, and still withholding its secrets. Perhaps it is not simply a monument to the past, but a puzzle for the future. One that continues to invite us, across millennia, to ask, what if the pyramids were never meant to be tombs at all, but power plants of an age long forgotten? From the idea of pyramids as vast power plants, drawing upon forces we scarcely comprehend, our attention drifts toward an even stranger possibility. A possibility that stretches beyond the physical, beyond the Earth itself, and into the vastness of the cosmos. For among the most mysterious theories surrounding the pyramids is the notion that they were not merely tombs, temples, or even generators, but gateways, portals, stargates. Imagine standing at the base of the Great Pyramid at dawn. The golden light of the rising sun spills across its massive limestone blocks, each one perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. The sheer precision is staggering. The structure deviates from true north by a fraction of a degree. To mainstream archaeologists, this alignment was symbolic, a reflection of the Egyptians' deep reverence for the heavens. But others see more. They see a key, an intentional calibration meant to harmonize with cosmic forces. Could such precision serve a function far beyond ritual? The idea of a stargate seems, at first, like the stuff of science fiction. Yet, when we examine the myths left behind, a different picture begins to emerge. Ancient Egyptian texts often speak of doors between worlds. Inscriptions describe the pharaoh as traveling through the gates of the sky to join the gods. The pyramid texts themselves are filled with cryptic references to portals, stairways, and celestial passages. Were these simply poetic metaphors, or were they describing something more literal? At the heart of this theory lies the belief that the pyramids were constructed to access other dimensions, or even distant parts of the galaxy. The Great Pyramid, with its intricate internal chambers, shafts, and resonance qualities, is often at the center of this speculation. Some researchers point to the so-called air shafts, which are angled precisely toward certain stars, such as Orion's belt and Sirius. Were these merely symbolic alignments, or could they have served as conduits, channels for energy, or even for movement between worlds? We also find echoes of this concept in other ancient cultures. In Mesopotamia, texts speak of the gods traveling through gates located at specific points on Earth. In the Americas, the Inca revered the Puerta de Hayu Marca, a carved stone doorway in Peru, believed to be a portal to the land of the gods. Even in modern Palestine, legends persist of ancient gates hidden among ruins and sacred sites. The recurring theme is difficult to ignore. Across time and culture, humanity has whispered of doorways that connect this world to another. Some scientists approach the theory with cautious curiosity, though not in the way fringe writers imagine. Quantum physics suggests that wormholes, shortcuts through space and time, could theoretically exist. These would require enormous amounts of energy to stabilize. If the pyramids were indeed capable of harnessing or focusing energy, could they have served as anchors for such gateways? The hypothesis remains unproven, but it sparks a tantalizing question. Might ancient civilizations have stumbled upon principles of physics we are only beginning to explore? Others turn their attention to the strange phenomena reported around the pyramids. Visitors describe sensations of vibration, unusual energy fields, or even altered states of consciousness when spending time within the king's chamber. In recent decades, experiments have shown that the Great Pyramid's structure may amplify electromagnetic waves. Could this resonance have been intentional, designed to create the conditions for some form of interdimensional contact? And yet, skepticism endures. Mainstream archaeologists argue that all these alignments, myths, and energetic properties can be explained by religion, culture, or coincidence. The shafts, they say, were symbolic passages for the soul, not literal tunnels to the stars. The myths of Stargates were metaphors for death and rebirth, not blueprints for advanced technology. But the mystery lingers precisely because so much remains unexplained. If the pyramids were indeed built before the Ice Age, as some theories suggest, then the implications become even more profound. That would mean they predate recorded Egyptian civilization by thousands of years, placing their origins in a time when humanity was thought to be primitive. Could a forgotten chapter of human history have possessed knowledge of space, energy, and gateways that we no longer understand? If so, the pyramids might not just be monuments. They might be remnants of a civilization with abilities beyond our own. The image of a Stargate hidden within the Great Pyramid is as haunting as it is alluring. One can imagine the pharaoh, not entombed in stone, but stepping through a doorway of light, leaving behind this world to walk among the stars. Were these structures mere tombs, symbolic gateways for the soul, or something far greater? Machines designed to bridge the earth with distant realms? Perhaps the answer lies buried still, in chambers yet undiscovered, or in the resonance of stones we have not fully understood. The pyramids continue to guard their secrets, and each new theory only deepens the sense that we are standing before something far greater than stone and geometry. Could it be that these ancient monuments were not just built for the dead, but for journeys unimaginable, for travels that defy time and space? And if so, what does that mean for us, standing here millennia later, gazing up at these eternal sentinels of stone? From the awe-inspiring concept of Stargates, our attention now drifts to another theory that stretches the imagination just as far: the possibility that the pyramids were designed as communication beacons. Structures built not only to endure the ravages of time, but to transmit messages across unimaginable distances, perhaps even beyond our world. Picture the Giza Plateau under the light of a late afternoon sun. The Great Pyramid rises with monumental authority, casting long geometric shadows across the sand. From a distance, it appears solid, immovable, a testament to human ambition and endurance. Yet there is a sense, subtle but persistent, that the pyramid is not just a monument to the past. It might be a device, a tool, a signal tower designed to communicate with forces, civilizations, or beings far removed from Earth itself. This theory is anchored in both geometry and astronomy. The Great Pyramid's dimensions, precise to the millimeter, and its alignment to true north are extraordinary. Its proportions correspond not only to Earth's measurements, but, intriguingly, to cosmic distances. Some researchers have noted that the pyramid's base and angles encode the value of pi and the golden ratio, numbers that transcend human culture and mathematics. Could such precision serve a practical purpose, a method to transmit information through structured resonance or harmonic vibrations? Ancient texts may offer subtle clues. The pyramid texts, carved onto the walls of later tombs, speak of the pharaohs sending words across the sky and voices to the stars. While mainstream interpretations see these as poetic references to the soul's journey to the afterlife, others suggest these are literal instructions for communication. If the pyramids were built before the Ice Age, their creators may have possessed knowledge far beyond what we attribute to early civilizations. Knowledge of energy, resonance, and interstellar signaling. The internal architecture of the Great Pyramid adds to the intrigue. Narrow shafts, angled precisely toward specific stars such as Sirius and Orion's belt, have long puzzled Egyptologists. Modern experiments have shown that these shafts can carry sound waves and vibrations in ways that amplify and focus energy. Could they have functioned as directional channels, guiding signals across great distances, much like the antennas of a radio tower? And if so, were these messages intended for other beings, perhaps watching from the heavens, awaiting a signal from Earth? Other pyramids around the world add to the mystery. The pyramids of Teotihuacan in Mexico, the step pyramids of Mesopotamia, and the Mesoamerican ziggurats all share geometric and astronomical precision. Could this indicate a global network of communication devices, each aligned to convey information across vast distances? Was there a lost chapter of human history, a time before the Ice Age, when advanced civilizations shared knowledge and technology we have yet to rediscover? Supporters of this theory also point to unusual phenomena observed near the pyramids. Some researchers report electromagnetic anomalies and fluctuations in radiation levels. Instruments detect faint energy pulses, as though the structures themselves are alive with vibration. Could these signals be remnants of an ancient technology, long dormant but still capable of interacting with the environment? If so, what messages were they designed to send, and to whom? Skeptics, of course, caution against overinterpretation. They argue that the pyramids were aligned for religious, cultural, and ceremonial purposes, and that any energetic anomalies are coincidental. But even within mainstream archaeology, the precision and scale of the pyramids remain difficult to explain with simple tools and methods attributed to ancient builders. The enigma persists, leaving space for theories that reach far beyond conventional understanding. Consider the notion of communication on a cosmic scale. If the pyramids were indeed beacons, they were more than symbolic. They were functional, intended to bridge the gap between Earth and the unknown. They might have been designed to transmit patterns, frequencies, or pulses readable only to those with the capacity to perceive them. These patterns could encode information about Earth, about human civilization, or about events yet to unfold. What, then, of the other structures at Giza? The Sphinx, for instance, faces due east, directly toward the rising sun. Could it have functioned as a marker, a directional reference for signals emanating from the pyramids? Might other monuments around the world form a network, a planetary grid transmitting knowledge across continents, encoded in stone and aligned to the cosmos? The concept of communication beacons challenges our perception of the past. It forces us to ask questions about the capabilities of civilizations before the Ice Age, about the nature of intelligence, and about the possibilities that lie beyond our immediate observation. Were the pyramids silent witnesses to messages sent across time and space? Were they designed for an audience we have yet to comprehend? And as we stand here, millennia later, gazing upon the desert monoliths, one cannot help but wonder, if the pyramids were indeed built to communicate, are their messages still waiting to be received? Are the signals dormant, hidden in resonance and geometry, waiting for the right conditions or the right observer to awaken them? The pyramids continue to guard their mysteries, whispering possibilities that stretch beyond human imagination. Perhaps the greatest secret of all is that they were never meant solely for us. As the discussion of communication beacons fades into the desert haze, a more unsettling theory begins to emerge, one that casts the pyramids not merely as monuments or signals, but as instruments of immense power, perhaps even weapons of mass destruction. To consider such a possibility is to confront the intersection of awe and terror, to imagine a civilization capable of harnessing energies far beyond the comprehension of even our most advanced modern technology. Picture the Giza Plateau under a brooding sky. The Great Pyramid towers above the sands, its limestone casing weathered, yet retaining an aura of silent authority. Its perfect symmetry and precise angles suggest deliberate intention, an engineering mastery that has confounded architects and archaeologists for centuries. But beyond the technical marvel, some researchers speculate that these structures were designed with a purpose that extends beyond monumentality. Purposeful design aimed at control, projection, and the manipulation of energy in ways that could be cataclysmic. The foundation of this theory lies in the sheer scale and density of the pyramids. The Great Pyramid alone is composed of over 2 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons. Their arrangement, so meticulously calculated, forms a shape capable of focusing immense forces. In modern physics, geometric forms like pyramids can concentrate energy, channeling vibrations and electromagnetic forces. Could it be that the pyramids were intended as focal points, capable of generating destructive energies across land, sea, or even the atmosphere? Historical records and legends add tantalizing, if ambiguous, evidence. Some ancient texts speak of fire from the sky and the wrath of the builders, passages interpreted by conventional historians as allegorical or mythological. Yet, if these are literal accounts, they may hint at knowledge of energy manipulation, harnessed through geometry, resonance, or material composition. Could these accounts describe events triggered by the pyramids themselves, releasing energy in ways that could decimate regions or subdue populations? The alignment of the pyramids also contributes to this speculation. The Great Pyramid is aligned almost perfectly to true north, while its sides correspond with cardinal points and specific stellar positions. Proponents suggest that such precise orientation could enhance natural forces, capturing cosmic energy, or even channeling terrestrial energy fields. The shafts inside the pyramid, often dismissed as symbolic or ceremonial, might have functioned as conduits, directing energy outward. If this is true, the pyramids may not merely have been passive structures. They could have been active, interactive machines, designed to release or control forces on an unprecedented scale. Furthermore, the pyramid's construction materials invite curiosity. Limestone, granite, and basalt, each quarried and transported with extraordinary effort, possess properties that can amplify vibrations. Granite, in particular, contains trace amounts of quartz, which has piezoelectric qualities, meaning it can generate electricity when compressed. Could the builders have known that combining these materials with precise geometry would create the conditions for a controlled release of energy? If so, they may have had the knowledge to craft mechanisms of destruction far beyond conventional weaponry. The theory becomes even more provocative when considered alongside other ancient sites. Across the globe, from the step pyramids of Mesoamerica to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, similar geometric principles appear. Could these distant structures indicate a shared understanding of energy manipulation, a lost technology wielded by civilizations long erased from history? If such knowledge existed before the Ice Age, it suggests a level of sophistication and power that challenges every assumption about prehistoric humans. Of course, mainstream archaeology is cautious, often dismissing these ideas as pseudoscience. They argue that the pyramids were tombs, ceremonial sites, or repositories of knowledge, with any observed phenomena coincidental or explainable by natural forces. Yet, even skeptics acknowledge the enigmas, the precision, the scale, the mathematical and astronomical knowledge embedded in stone. How could such perfection arise without extraordinary intent? Could some of that intent have been not to honor the dead, but to wield forces far more consequential? Modern experiments in energy resonance and vibration show that structures can influence their environment in unexpected ways. Certain frequencies can shatter glass, disrupt electronics, or generate waves across fluids. Could the pyramids, tuned precisely in mass, angle, and material, have been capable of such effects on a massive scale, long before humanity understood the principles of physics that make this possible today? And if so, what might have been the purpose? Defense? Conquest? Deterrence? Or something we are yet incapable of imagining? As we walk the sands surrounding these ancient colossi, the mind drifts to the terrifying elegance of their design. Were they passive monuments or instruments of control? Were they silent, dormant machines awaiting activation, or remnants of a cataclysmic past whose energies reshaped landscapes and civilizations? The thought lingers uncomfortably, for if the pyramids were ever intended as weapons of mass destruction, their creators possessed an understanding of the universe that eclipses our own. And so, beneath the shifting sands, beneath the whispers of wind across the plateau, one must ask, if these structures were indeed instruments of immense power, what forces remain hidden? What ancient knowledge has been lost, waiting for discovery, or cautioning us with its absence? The pyramids endure, majestic and inscrutable, standing guard over mysteries that stretch beyond history, science, and imagination. As the whispers of the pyramid's potential as weapons fade into the wind, a more subtle yet profoundly enigmatic theory emerges, one that suggests these monuments were not only machines or signals, but repositories of life itself. Imagine the desert sands, stretching endlessly under a pale sun, the Giza Plateau dotted with colossal stone guardians. Their shadows stretch long across the shifting dunes, and the air is filled with the faint hum of history, of secrets encoded in stone. Among the most captivating ideas in modern speculation is the notion that the pyramids functioned as DNA libraries, vast archives of genetic information preserved across time in ways that continue to elude our understanding. The concept begins with the extraordinary precision of the pyramid's construction. Each stone block, meticulously cut and fitted, forms an architecture of unparalleled stability. Within the internal chambers, the air is dry, temperature remarkably stable, and conditions unchanging over millennia. Could such design have been intentional, providing the perfect environment to store delicate biological material? Some researchers suggest that the builders, whoever they were, may have possessed knowledge of genetics or biology that predates conventional human understanding by tens of thousands of years. If true, the pyramids might have been intended as vaults, safeguarding the essence of life for future generations, or even for civilizations yet to come. Supporters of this theory often point to ancient texts and carvings, interpreted as more than symbolic or mythological. Figures are depicted in poses that, to some eyes, resemble anatomical diagrams. Patterns on walls, previously dismissed as artistic embellishment, could encode sequences, instructions, or information, a proto-genetic language waiting to be decoded. Could the hieroglyphs, the precise alignments, and the internal chamber designs collectively form a system capable of storing complex biological data, a blueprint of life in stone. The notion gains further intrigue when considering the alignment and geometry of the pyramids. The Great Pyramid, with its precise orientation to the cardinal points, its internal shafts aimed toward specific stars, may not merely reflect astronomical knowledge. Could these alignments have served to energize, stabilize, or activate the information stored within? Some speculate that celestial energy, cosmic rays, electromagnetic fields, or other subtle forces could interact with the materials of the pyramid, influencing molecular structures or preserving fragile biological sequences. The pyramids, in this light, become something more than architecture. They become instruments in a grander bioarchitectural design. Ancient civilizations around the globe, from the step pyramids of Central America to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, display remarkable parallels in geometry, symbolism, and orientation. Could this suggest a shared understanding of life preservation and advanced knowledge lost to history? If pyramids were indeed DNA libraries, it implies not only sophistication in architecture but also in the sciences that blend biology, physics, and information theory in ways that modern humans are only beginning to glimpse. Modern science, though centuries removed, hints at tantalizing possibilities. DNA, the molecule of life, can be remarkably stable under precise conditions: cold, dry, and shielded from radiation. Techniques like cryopreservation rely on this principle, freezing genetic material for thousands of years. Could the pyramids have been ancient analogs, designed to store genetic material in a natural, passive state, utilizing geometry and stone as a preservation medium? Could they have been designed to safeguard the diversity of species, perhaps even human lineages, across cataclysmic events such as ice ages, floods, or societal collapses? Yet, as alluring as the theory is, mainstream archaeology and biology remain skeptical. No conclusive evidence of preserved genetic material has been found within the pyramids. The internal chambers are mostly empty, with only symbolic artifacts and burial relics. Skeptics argue that the DNA library theory is poetic speculation, a projection of modern desires for preservation onto ancient structures. However, the unanswered questions persist: the precision, the durability, the mathematical and astronomical sophistication. Why invest so much effort if not for a purpose of extraordinary importance? If one allows the mind to wander, the implications are staggering. What species might have been preserved? Were humans themselves archived, their genetic sequences safeguarded against the uncertainties of time? Or were the pyramids designed to hold the essence of all life known to a lost civilization, an instruction manual for rebirth should the world falter? The concept forces us to reconsider what it means to be ancient, to be human, and to interact with knowledge across millennia. Walking among the pyramids today, the stones feel heavier with the weight of unseen information. Could their silence conceal a message encoded in molecular sequences? A whisper of life preserved in the geometry of granite and limestone? Could the energy of the stars, the alignment of the planets, and the hum of the earth itself have been woven into these vast stone vaults to maintain a library beyond human comprehension? The mystery lingers, suspended in the desert air. If the pyramids were indeed DNA libraries, who placed the genetic blueprints there, and for whom? What knowledge was lost when civilizations fell, and what secrets remain hidden, awaiting discovery by those capable of reading the language of stone and life? And most haunting of all, what might still be preserved silently in the chambers of Giza, waiting to speak across the ages to a world unprepared to understand it? The pyramids, immovable and eternal, remain silent guardians. Their purpose may be biological, architectural, cosmic, or all of these. As the sun dips behind the western horizon, casting the Great Pyramid in shadow, one cannot help but wonder. In these immense stone structures, do we glimpse the ambitions of beings who understood life itself? And if so, what messages, what blueprints, what echoes of creation might still be hidden within? As the wind carries the last echoes of the DNA library theory across the Giza Plateau, another layer of mystery beckons, one shrouded in symbolism, ritual, and secrecy. The pyramids, monumental and silent, stand like sentinels over the sands, their stones etched with the weight of millennia. Among these enduring structures, some theorists suggest, lie the roots of Masonic secrets, a web of knowledge passed down through generations, hidden in plain sight, encoded in geometry, symbolism, and alignment. Imagine walking along the causeways of the Great Pyramid, the colossal blocks towering overhead, each one meticulously positioned. The precision of the angles, the interlocking stones, the alignment to celestial bodies, all hint at more than mere architectural ambition. Could these constructions have served as repositories of esoteric knowledge, their design principles secretly preserved by a lineage of initiates? The Masonic tradition, emerging thousands of years later, is rich with symbolism drawn from construction, geometry, and the natural order. Many researchers propose that the builders of the pyramids may have been the progenitors of such a tradition, leaving clues for the initiated, encoded in the stones themselves. Symbols abound in Masonic lore: the compass, the square, the all-seeing eye, and the pillars of wisdom. Some theorists point to echoes of these motifs within the pyramid complex, subtle proportions that reflect sacred geometry, chambers positioned according to mathematical ratios, and passages aligned with celestial phenomena. Could these be the vestiges of a highly organized esoteric culture, one that revered knowledge and secrecy as equally vital as survival or conquest? The very architecture of the pyramids may have been a pedagogical tool, teaching initiates about the cosmos, mathematics, and the harmony of life itself through experience rather than text. Historical parallels add further intrigue. Across the ancient world, from the ziggurats of Mesopotamia to the step pyramids of Mesoamerica, we find evidence of highly ritualized construction practices. The Masonic tradition, often considered a continuation of guild knowledge, emphasizes initiation, symbolic learning, and the transmission of specialized knowledge. Could the design and construction of the pyramids have been part of a similar initiatory system, where only those versed in certain mathematical or philosophical principles could fully comprehend the meaning encoded in the stones? If so, the pyramids were not merely tombs or observatories. They were living classrooms, their lessons hidden in plain sight for the chosen few. Consider the internal layout of the Great Pyramid, the descending and ascending passages, the grand gallery, the king's and queen's chambers, each space carefully proportioned, each shaft aligned to significant stars. Some researchers suggest that these features reflect ritual pathways, mirroring the journey of the soul or the progression of knowledge in an initiatory system. The Masonic tradition emphasizes moral and intellectual ascent, symbolized by movement through structured spaces and stages of understanding. Could the pyramids themselves have been designed to facilitate such a symbolic ascent, guiding practitioners through layers of physical and metaphysical understanding, much like a Masonic rite of passage? Further, the enigmatic inscriptions and carvings, some only partially understood, may hold keys to lost symbolic systems. Hieroglyphs depicting gods, sacred animals, and cosmic events are arranged with deliberate symmetry. Could these images encode more than religious myth? Could they contain instruction sets, mnemonic devices, or encoded philosophical principles meant to preserve ancient wisdom? If the pyramids were indeed the ancestors of Masonic knowledge, then the patterns we observe today are not merely artistic. They are vehicles for a secret science, a bridge between human experience and universal truths. Yet the trail of Masonic connections is both tantalizing and frustratingly incomplete. While parallels between pyramidal geometry and later Masonic symbols are compelling, definitive proof remains elusive. Historians and archaeologists caution against overinterpretation, reminding us that correlation does not equal causation. Still, the consistency of symbolism across time and geography invites reflection. If a thread of initiatory knowledge indeed runs from the pyramids to the lodges of medieval and modern Masons, it implies a deliberate effort to safeguard wisdom against the erosion of time, a knowledge encoded in stone, geometry, and ritual. The philosophical implications are profound. Were the pyramids designed not only to honor kings or gods, but to preserve and transmit knowledge to future civilizations? Could the Masonic principles of symmetry, balance, and ethical ascent be echoes of an ancient worldview preserved in architecture, ritual, and allegory? Walking among these monoliths today, one senses a palpable tension between the visible and the hidden, the literal and the symbolic. Each step along the weathered stones raises questions about human ambition, intellect, and the desire to leave enduring marks upon both the earth and the mind. Ultimately, the pyramids challenge our understanding of history, knowledge, and secrecy. Could these structures contain blueprints of ethical and philosophical principles, encoded to outlast the rise and fall of empires? Are the Masonic secrets whispered through centuries merely shadows of an even older esoteric tradition, originating long before written history, perhaps even before the Ice Age itself? And if so, what lessons, what guidance, what hidden wisdom still slumbers within the heart of these monumental stones, awaiting the careful eyes and patient minds capable of unlocking their mysteries? The desert winds sweep across the plateau, brushing against the massive stones, carrying with them the echoes of builders, initiates, and perhaps generations of secret knowledge. The pyramids remain steadfast, as if guarding truths beyond our current comprehension, and as we peer into the corridors, the chambers, and the intricate alignments, the question persists: how deep does the connection run between these ancient monuments and the secret traditions that emerged millennia later? The mysteries are silent, yet their presence is undeniable, inviting us to look closer, think deeper, and wonder endlessly about the hidden wisdom etched in stone. The shifting sands of the Giza Plateau have long concealed more than the secrets of kings and pharaohs. As the sun dips behind the horizon, casting elongated shadows across the Great Pyramid, one cannot help but notice how these monoliths have inspired centuries of speculation, not only among historians, but also among those who study the hidden currents of power. Among these currents, the connection between the pyramids and the enigmatic Illuminati has captivated imaginations, a theory suggesting that these ancient structures may hold clues to secret societies, their knowledge, and their influence on human history. Standing before the pyramids, the first impression is one of overwhelming scale and precision. Each limestone block, carefully cut and positioned, conveys an intelligence beyond mere engineering. Yet some theorists propose that these structures were more than monumental tombs. They were symbols carefully encoded with knowledge meant for a select few. The Illuminati, an organization born in the late 18th century with ambitions of enlightenment and hidden influence, is often thought to have inherited and preserved such ancient knowledge. Could the pyramids, then, be part of a long continuum of esoteric wisdom, stretching from prehistory into the hands of modern secret societies? The intrigue begins with geometry and symbolism. The pyramid, with its 4 triangular faces converging at a single apex, embodies principles of balance, order, and hidden knowledge, concepts central to Illuminati philosophy. The alignment of the pyramids with cardinal points, the precise mathematical ratios, and the celestial correspondences echo ideas of universal order, which the Illuminati purportedly seek to understand and manipulate. Were these monuments designed to serve as a guide, a map of cosmic knowledge, or a repository of power, only accessible to those trained to interpret it? Historical threads add complexity. Throughout history, symbols associated with the pyramids, triangles, the eye, the step-like progression, reappear in art, architecture, and secret rites. The Eye of Providence, now famously depicted atop the unfinished pyramid on the US dollar, evokes this continuity. Scholars and researchers have long debated whether such symbols are coincidental or intentional echoes of ancient wisdom, preserved and adapted by secret societies across centuries. Could the Illuminati, and groups inspired by them, have drawn upon an older, more arcane lineage of knowledge encoded in the pyramids? The architectural sophistication of the Great Pyramid adds weight to these questions. The Grand Gallery, the King's Chamber, the precise shaft alignments, some directed toward stars significant in ancient cosmology, suggest an understanding of astronomy and physics that challenges conventional timelines. Illuminati theorists argue that such knowledge may have been deliberately concealed, passed through initiatory traditions, and adapted over millennia to influence human thought. If true, the pyramids were not only constructions of stone but also instruments of esoteric instruction, designed to communicate with the initiated across space and time. Yet, the story grows more enigmatic when one considers the secretive rituals often associated with the Illuminati. Initiation, symbolism, and coded messages are central to the organization's mythology. Some researchers propose that the pyramids, much like later Masonic lodges, could have served as ritual spaces or symbolic frameworks for understanding the universe and humanity's place within it. Hidden passages, chambers with unique acoustics, and alignments with celestial events could reflect methods of teaching and enlightenment, mechanisms to transmit knowledge not through words but through experience, geometry, and observation. Despite these provocative theories, tangible evidence linking the pyramids directly to the Illuminati is elusive. Mainstream historians caution that the Illuminati, as formally established in the 18th century, existed thousands of years after the pyramids were built. However, the continuity of symbolic motifs, architectural precision, and philosophical parallels invites contemplation. Perhaps the pyramids represent the earliest expressions of a lineage of secret knowledge, later inherited, codified, and transformed by secret societies whose influence ebbed and flowed through history. The philosophical implications are profound. If these monuments were intended to preserve or transmit knowledge to the select few, what truths might still be hidden within their stones? Could the Illuminati's fascination with pyramids signify an enduring recognition of ancient wisdom, a message that transcends time and culture? Walking among the towering blocks, one is confronted with the tension between what is visible and what is concealed, between the historical and the esoteric. Each passage, each chamber, each alignment whispers of intentions long obscured by time and sand. As night settles over the plateau and the stars above begin their silent dance, the pyramids loom like silent guardians over a history both revealed and hidden. Their purpose, whether tomb, temple, observatory, or cryptic library, continues to challenge our understanding of human capability, intention, and the preservation of knowledge. If the Illuminati and other secret societies did, in fact, draw upon these ancient monuments, then the pyramids are not merely relics of the past. They are enduring symbols of humanity's quest for understanding, wisdom, and influence. And as we peer into the shadows of their chambers, the question persists. How much of what we see is deliberate, and how much remains a mystery, awaiting those willing to interpret the language of stone and symbol? The towering silhouette of St. Peter's Basilica, bathed in the amber glow of a setting sun, casts long shadows across Vatican City, a city-state that has long held a paradoxical position in history, at once a repository of knowledge and a gatekeeper of secrets. Within its walls, countless manuscripts, codices, and artifacts lie carefully cataloged, some accessible to scholars, many withheld from the public eye. Among these treasures and mysteries lies a persistent question that has captivated researchers and conspiracy theorists alike. Could the Vatican have deliberately suppressed knowledge about the pyramids, their origins, and their potential connection to pre-Ice Age civilizations? One begins to understand the depth of this question by considering the scope of the Vatican Library. Founded in the 15th century, it has amassed texts from across the known world, preserving works in theology, science, astronomy, and philosophy. Among these are reports from early explorers, records from antiquity, and treatises on architecture and cosmology. Scholars have noted that numerous ancient Egyptian manuscripts were copied, translated, or cataloged within these collections. Yet access to them has historically been highly restricted. Could some of these texts have hinted at advanced knowledge encoded within the pyramids? Knowledge that might have challenged prevailing doctrines or historical timelines? The intrigue deepens when considering the relationship between the Church and the codification of history. For centuries, the Vatican has wielded enormous influence over what was recorded, interpreted, and taught. Historical accounts that contradicted biblical chronologies were sometimes modified, suppressed, or simply left unacknowledged. The pyramids, towering testaments to human ingenuity, present a conundrum. If they predate the accepted timeline of human civilization, what implications might that hold for established narratives of creation, progress, and divine intervention? Did the Church, in its role as custodian of knowledge, choose to obscure aspects of this history, consciously or otherwise? There are subtle clues scattered throughout historical records. References to lost civilizations, cryptic accounts from travelers and scholars, and the meticulous cataloging of esoteric symbols all suggest that certain knowledge may have been considered too dangerous, too revolutionary, or too contradictory to be widely disseminated. Some researchers suggest that the Vatican, aware of the pyramid's mysterious precision, alignment, and potential astronomical significance, may have categorized certain documents as heretical, esoteric, or irrelevant, effectively shielding the public from information that could destabilize centuries of religious and historical orthodoxy. Yet, the notion of suppression does not require intentional malevolence. It could be as much a matter of control, caution, and preservation. Imagine the discovery of a manuscript describing techniques of stone levitation, sound resonance, or celestial alignment that far surpass contemporary understanding. Such knowledge, if misinterpreted or misapplied, could provoke social, religious, and political upheaval. From this perspective, selective restriction might appear prudent, a protective measure ensuring that ancient wisdom was preserved for those deemed capable of understanding and safeguarding it. But herein lies the tension. How much knowledge remained intentionally hidden, and how much has simply been lost over centuries of conflict, decay, and bureaucratic discretion? Modern researchers have attempted to bridge these gaps through indirect methods, analyzing historical texts, decoding symbolism in ecclesiastical architecture, and cross-referencing accounts from explorers who visited Egypt before the pyramids became a global fascination. Yet each discovery leads to further questions. Some Vatican documents allude to the pyramid's precision in geometry and astronomy, and the recurrent theme of hidden chambers and secret passageways hints at layers of information encoded in stone. Did the Church recognize the pyramids as repositories of ancient wisdom, perhaps rivaling its own treasures in knowledge, and choose to control access to prevent perceived chaos or heresy? The story gains complexity when considering the intersection of faith and science. The Vatican has historically supported astronomical research, cartography, and the preservation of classical texts. Yet the boundaries between accepted knowledge and dangerous speculation were rigidly maintained. Pyramids, aligned with the stars and constructed with seemingly impossible precision, present a challenge to conventional understanding. Could their advanced engineering, astronomical correlations, and possible use as repositories of encoded wisdom have threatened the narrative of human progress as endorsed by the Church? If so, then silence, discretion, and selective archiving may have been the chosen instruments of preservation or suppression. Walking through the vaulted corridors of the Vatican, one senses the duality of purpose, a space both of enlightenment and concealment. Each manuscript, each artifact, holds the potential to reveal or obscure, to illuminate or mystify. The pyramid's enigma, intertwined with questions of human origins, cosmic knowledge, and technological mastery, seems to echo within these halls. As researchers and theorists delve into ancient records, the tension persists. What knowledge did the Vatican safeguard? What did it withhold? And what might still lie hidden, awaiting those who possess the insight or courage to interpret it? As the light fades and the ancient stones of St. Peter's Basilica settle into shadow, the pyramids of Giza and the documents of the Vatican seem connected by a silent dialogue spanning millennia. Knowledge, once recorded, once preserved, may have been deliberately veiled, a secret thread running through history. And as we peer into the past, the question remains hauntingly open. What truths, hidden in manuscripts, codices, and stone alike, continue to elude our understanding, patiently waiting for discovery? As one approaches the Great Pyramid of Giza, the massive limestone blocks, worn smooth by millennia of desert winds, seem almost alive with a silent memory. The air is thick with history, but beneath this familiar monument of human ingenuity lies a deeper, more unsettling enigma. The possibility of hidden chambers, long sealed from view, containing secrets that could rewrite our understanding of life itself. Whispers persist, both in hushed scholarly debates and in the world of speculative research, that these concealed spaces may hold evidence not of human origin, but of something far stranger: alien bodies, preserved in silence for untold ages. The notion seems almost impossible, yet the pyramids themselves invite questions that defy conventional explanation. From the precision of their construction to the meticulous alignment with celestial bodies, these structures radiate an intelligence that seems to surpass the known capabilities of the civilizations credited with their creation. Could it be that these hidden chambers were deliberately designed, not merely as tombs for pharaohs, but as vaults for something or someone extraordinary? Some researchers point to unusual voids detected via modern moon tomography, pockets of empty space that suggest unknown passageways. Are these simply architectural quirks? Or could they be gateways to the most astonishing secrets of the pyramids? Throughout history, tales have surfaced of explorers, archaeologists, and even locals claiming glimpses of sealed doors and inaccessible chambers. Accounts speak of intricate corridors, seemingly untouched by time, where strange artifacts were rumored to lie. Some describe skeletal remains unlike any known species, with elongated craniums, unusual limb proportions, and bone structures that defy earthly biology. These stories, often dismissed by mainstream scholarship, are nonetheless persistent, echoing across generations as if the pyramids themselves were guarding a truth too profound for the world to accept. The question naturally arises: why would evidence of extraterrestrial life be concealed within the pyramids? Some theorists suggest that these bodies could represent visitors from distant worlds who arrived on Earth long before recorded history. If so, the pyramids may have served as preservation chambers, or even laboratories, where advanced knowledge, genetics, or technologies were safeguarded for millennia. Could the pyramid builders have been collaborators or witnesses? Rather than the originators of these structures, tasked with maintaining the integrity of what some describe as an interstellar archive. Historical texts and hieroglyphs offer tantalizing hints, though they remain cryptic. Certain depictions of deities and celestial beings, often shown with elongated skulls or other non-human features, have been interpreted by some researchers as symbolic representations of alien entities. Could these images be more than myth? Were they records of actual beings that once interacted with humans, immortalized in stone to preserve a legacy beyond ordinary comprehension? The meticulous nature of these carvings, coupled with the pyramid's precision, suggests intentionality, as if the builders were encoding knowledge for those capable of understanding it, or for those who would one day rediscover it. Modern technology has allowed us glimpses into the pyramid's hidden interiors without disturbing their delicate structure. Non-invasive scanning methods reveal voids and cavities that have yet to be fully explored. Some scientists argue these spaces could hold nothing more than air or debris, yet the possibility remains that they conceal chambers deliberately left untouched, perhaps to protect whatever lies within from degradation or from human interference. If alien bodies do exist, they may have been sealed to preserve them across eons, their presence intentionally masked by architecture, geology, and secrecy. The implications of such a discovery would be staggering. Confirming extraterrestrial life within the pyramids would not only challenge our understanding of history, but also the very nature of human civilization and its relationship with the cosmos. How did these beings arrive? What purpose did they serve? Did they guide the development of early societies, or were they observers, documenting humanity from a distance? The questions multiply, each answer opening yet another layer of mystery. Even as researchers debate and technology advances, the pyramids remain largely silent. Their massive stones bear no words for us to read, no direct testimony to the presence of otherworldly visitors. And yet, the persistence of hidden chambers, the anomalies in construction, and the legends that endure suggest that something extraordinary may have been intentionally concealed. Perhaps, like the pyramids themselves, these hidden spaces are designed to challenge our assumptions, to force us to confront the possibility that Earth's history and the story of life may be far stranger than we ever imagined. And so, the search continues, with each scan, each exploration, and each whispered rumor pushing the boundaries of what we dare to consider. The pyramids, guardians of millennia, continue to hold their secrets tightly. Among their hidden corridors, could alien bodies lie in silent repose, patiently awaiting a time when humanity is ready, or perhaps destined, to understand their presence and the cosmic mysteries they embody? As the sun dips low over the Giza Plateau, the shadows of the pyramids stretch across the desert, draping the stones in a golden, almost ethereal light. The Great Pyramid, immense and enduring, rises like a sentinel of time, guarding secrets not only of physical construction, but perhaps of knowledge itself, a repository far beyond what human memory or written records can hold. Among the many mysteries whispered about this ancient wonder, some suggest that the pyramids themselves may serve as a gateway to the Akashic records, a universal library said to contain the totality of all events, thoughts, and experiences across the cosmos. The idea of the Akashic records is steeped in esoteric tradition, a concept that predates many modern spiritual frameworks. These records are imagined as an energetic archive, accessible not through conventional means, but through consciousness itself, a plane where the entirety of history, past, present, and potential futures is encoded. Could it be that the pyramids, with their precise geometry, alignment, and inexplicable energy anomalies, were designed to interact with this vast immaterial database? Some researchers argue that the structure's orientation toward the cardinal points, coupled with internal chambers aligned to specific celestial phenomena, hints at functionality that surpasses mere tomb construction. Historical evidence adds tantalizing threads to this theory. Ancient Egyptian texts describe halls of knowledge and chambers of the gods, spaces where wisdom was preserved beyond the grasp of ordinary mortals. The hieroglyphs, often cryptic and symbolic, sometimes depict human figures in communion with celestial beings, as if recording or receiving knowledge beyond the earthly plane. Could these depictions reference the Akashic records indirectly, suggesting that the pyramids were more than monuments? They were instruments designed to tap into a universal consciousness. Modern science has yet to fully understand certain physical phenomena within the pyramids. For example, the so-called King's Chamber resonance and the acoustic properties of other internal spaces seem unusually precise, capable of amplifying vibrations and sound in ways that defy conventional architectural explanations. Some theorists propose that these resonances could act as catalysts for human consciousness, opening pathways to deeper states of awareness where the Akashic records might be accessed. Is it possible that the ancients, through a combination of geometry, sound, and consciousness, encoded a method to record and retrieve knowledge from the universe itself? Legends and anecdotal reports add layers of intrigue. Mystics, explorers, and psychics throughout history have described experiences of profound insight within or near the pyramids. Visions of ancient civilizations, knowledge of cosmic patterns, even glimpses of future events. Skeptics often dismiss these accounts as subjective or coincidental, yet the persistence of these reports across centuries raises questions. Could the pyramids function as both physical and metaphysical conduits, linking the human mind to a universal memory that stretches beyond space and time? The concept also raises profound questions about human history and its origins. If the pyramids were built to interface with such a cosmic archive, might they contain encoded records not only of human civilization, but of the universe at large, including events predating the known Ice Age? Could the builders themselves have been recipients of knowledge from these records, using it to craft structures and technologies that appear impossible by today's understanding? And if so, what knowledge lies hidden within the stones, waiting for those who can decipher the mechanisms that bridge the physical and the metaphysical? Moreover, some propose that access to the Akashic records was intentionally restricted, safeguarded against misuse. The pyramids, with their sealed chambers, intricate passages, and alignment with celestial markers, could have functioned as both a repository and a protective system, ensuring that only those with the proper understanding or consciousness could tap into the information contained within. This theory aligns with ancient narratives of secret wisdom, guarded by priesthoods or enlightened individuals who understood the potential and the danger of such profound knowledge. Even today, as researchers employ ground-penetrating radar, muon tomography, and other non-invasive techniques, vast portions of the pyramids remain unexplored. Could these hidden spaces house not physical treasures, but energetic or symbolic constructs designed to interface with universal knowledge? The idea challenges the boundaries of both archaeology and metaphysics, suggesting that the pyramids may be far more than relics. They may be keys to the collective memory of existence itself. The Great Pyramid, standing silently against the shifting sands, continues to captivate the imagination and the intellect alike. Its massive stones, precise angles, and hidden voids hint at possibilities that defy explanation, and the suggestion that it may connect humanity to the Akashic records adds an entirely new dimension to its mystery. Could the pyramids hold the blueprint for accessing universal knowledge, a cosmic library embedded in stone, waiting for those ready to awaken the memory of the universe? As twilight descends over the Giza Plateau, the pyramids stand in silent testimony to ages long past, their colossal silhouettes etched against the fading sky. The desert wind carries whispers of secrets buried in sand and stone, hinting at truths long concealed. Among the many enigmas of these structures lies a provocative question. Were the pharaohs themselves merely a facade, a carefully crafted narrative designed to obscure knowledge that was far older and far greater than the official history allows? Could the grandeur of kings and the rituals surrounding them have served as a cover-up, diverting attention from realities that predated the dynastic timeline we have been taught? The official history credits pharaohs as the architects and overseers of these monumental constructions, portraying them as god-kings whose authority legitimized massive projects. Hieroglyphs, elaborate tombs, and inscriptions reinforce this narrative, depicting pharaohs as central figures in society and cosmic order. Yet when one examines the sheer scale, precision, and engineering sophistication of the pyramids, questions inevitably arise. Could a society supposedly reliant on simple tools and manual labor truly have achieved these feats without some lost knowledge, some technology or understanding that is absent from our historical record? And if such knowledge existed, were the pharaohs' legacies deliberately crafted to conceal it? Archaeological investigations reveal inconsistencies that fuel this line of inquiry. The alignment of the pyramids with cardinal points, the mathematical exactitude of their dimensions, and the precision of their internal chambers suggest capabilities that seem beyond what the conventional timeline allows. Ancient texts rarely provide detailed explanations of construction methods, and much of what is recorded focuses instead on ceremonial purposes, religious symbolism, and the glorification of rulers. Could this emphasis on Pharaoh's divine status have been a deliberate redirection, a way to ensure that the methods, technologies, or knowledge behind the pyramids remained hidden from the public and from posterity? Speculative theories explore the possibility that pharaohs were not the true architects, but custodians of a legacy that far exceeded their lifespans. Perhaps they were figureheads, positioned to lend authority to projects whose origins stretched into an era that predated the dynasties themselves. The pyramids, in this view, are not monuments to the rulers, but repositories of knowledge, energy, or technology from a forgotten epoch. Could the grandiose depictions of pharaohs, the rituals of mummification, and the vast wealth accumulated within the tombs have served to distract, glorify, and mystify, shielding the real history from scrutiny? Legends, texts, and obscure records hint at even deeper layers. Some accounts suggest that certain pharaohs may have understood only fragments of the true purpose of the pyramids. Priests and scribes, often the keepers of sacred knowledge, were entrusted with encoding mysteries in symbols, numbers, and alignments. Was this esoteric knowledge deliberately kept away from rulers to maintain control? Or was it the pharaohs themselves who orchestrated a narrative that concealed truths that could challenge their authority, or humanity's understanding of its own past? The cover-up theory also raises questions about chronology. Carbon dating, geological evidence, and astronomical alignments occasionally indicate that parts of the pyramids or associated structures could be far older than the era assigned to the pharaohs. Could this mean that the historical narrative was revised or manipulated, assigning credit to rulers as a convenient story, masking the accomplishments, or perhaps the interventions, of an earlier civilization? And if so, who orchestrated this narrative, and why would the truth be hidden behind a veneer of divinity and ceremony? Even the most mundane aspects of daily life in the Pharaonic period may hold subtle clues. The meticulous recording of lineage, the careful cataloging of labor and resources, and the construction of elaborate burial complexes may have functioned as a system of obfuscation. By focusing attention on kingship and ritual, the society's collective consciousness was oriented toward devotion and spectacle rather than inquiry and discovery. Could it be that the pharaoh's role was less about power and more about safeguarding, or controlling the legacy of knowledge embedded within the pyramids? And yet, questions linger. Why maintain such elaborate deceptions over millennia? What truths were so powerful, so destabilizing, that they necessitated masking under the authority of god kings? Were the pyramids themselves, in their enduring silence, waiting for a time when humanity might be ready to decipher the real story, revealing knowledge that had been hidden behind dynasties, inscriptions, and ritual for thousands of years? As the desert darkens and the pyramids rise like timeless sentinels against the starlit sky, the notion that pharaohs might have been mere actors in a far grander narrative continues to intrigue. The more we uncover, the more the lines between myth, history, and suppressed knowledge blur. What was the truth that the pharaohs were guarding, consciously or unconsciously? And how much of our understanding of human history rests upon a story carefully constructed to conceal what came long before? As the first rays of sunlight spill over the Giza Plateau, the pyramids emerge from the desert haze like colossal sentinels of an ancient and unfathomable past. Their monumental silhouettes have captivated scholars, adventurers, and dreamers alike for centuries. But beneath the surface of archaeological study lies a question rarely asked aloud. Could much of what we have been taught about these structures be a carefully constructed illusion? Could Western archaeology itself, with its authoritative narratives and celebrated discoveries, have played a role in masking truths that challenge the official timeline of human civilization? The story begins in the 19th and early 20th centuries, when Western explorers, often armed with brushes, measuring tapes, and a hunger for fame, descended upon Egypt. They mapped, cataloged, and excavated, but always through a lens tinted by imperial ambition and cultural preconceptions. Egyptology, as it emerged, framed the pyramids within a linear narrative. Primitive humans, guided by the inspiration of pharaohs, erected these colossal monuments using simple tools and unskilled labor. This story became canon, disseminated through textbooks, museum exhibits, and academic institutions across Europe and North America. Yet as centuries of study unfolded, anomalies began to accumulate, anomalies that threatened the tidy timeline. Consider the precision of the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Its base is nearly perfectly level, its sides aligned almost exactly with the cardinal points, and the internal chambers exhibit construction tolerances that seem impossible for a culture supposedly working with copper chisels and stone hammers. Mainstream explanations rely on human ingenuity and perseverance, but is this sufficient to account for the engineering marvels on display? Some researchers argue that such precision suggests a lost knowledge, a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, astronomy, and physics that predates dynastic Egypt. Yet this perspective has often been dismissed, marginalized, or outright ignored in conventional archaeology. Could this dismissal itself be part of a larger pattern? A subtle orchestration that maintains the narrative favoring pharaoh-centered achievement while downplaying evidence of a far older, more advanced civilization? Western archaeology, with its emphasis on excavation records, carbon dating, and stratigraphy, has also been accused of selective storytelling. Certain findings, artifacts that do not align with the accepted chronology, geological evidence suggesting advanced construction techniques, or records hinting at astronomical knowledge centuries ahead of its time, have been downplayed or explained away. The historical record is often treated as immutable, yet the methods for interpreting it are inherently subjective, influenced by funding sources, academic hierarchies, and cultural biases. Could this mean that some discoveries have been quietly reinterpreted, their implications softened, so that the grandeur of the pyramids appears as the product of human endeavor within a conventional historical framework, rather than a legacy of a more ancient intelligence? The influence of media and popular narratives cannot be underestimated. Early archaeological expeditions were sensationalized in newspapers and journals, with pharaohs portrayed as central figures and pyramids as monuments to their glory. Rarely were alternative interpretations, particularly those suggesting advanced prehistoric civilizations or extraterrestrial involvement, given serious consideration. Over time, these narratives solidified into accepted history, forming a lens through which subsequent generations of scholars were trained. Was this inadvertent, or was there a deliberate intent to maintain control over the story of human achievement? In a world where knowledge equates to power, controlling the narrative of the past is, in itself, a form of authority. Some contemporary theorists suggest that Western archaeology may have inadvertently or deliberately erased evidence of pre-Ice Age civilizations. Geological surveys, inconsistencies in construction dates, and anomalies in tool marks point toward capabilities that are not explained by Pharaonic-era technology alone. Yet these details are often footnotes in textbooks, glossed over in favor of chronologies that support dynastic Egypt as the origin of monumental construction. Is it possible that the emphasis on pharaohs and dynasties serves as a convenient mask, diverting attention from civilizations and knowledge systems that predate the Ice Age? The ramifications of such a scenario are profound. If Western archaeology has indeed constructed a partial, or even fundamentally flawed narrative, then the pyramids are more than monuments to human ambition. They are evidence of a story that has been carefully curated, filtered through centuries of interpretation, and presented in ways that align with prevailing assumptions. Every stone, chamber, and alignment becomes a question not only of engineering, but of historiography. What was intentionally highlighted, and what was allowed to fade into obscurity? And yet, the evidence persists, quietly challenging the orthodoxy. Peculiar architectural features, astronomical alignments, and anomalies in construction materials hint at knowledge that exceeds conventional understanding. Could it be that the truth of the pyramid's origins has been deliberately veiled by the very scholars entrusted with uncovering it? And if so, what might lie hidden beneath the layers of accepted history, waiting for those willing to look beyond the canonical narrative, beyond the authority of Western interpretation, and into the possibility of a civilization older and more advanced than we have dared to imagine? As the desert wind stirs the sands and the pyramids cast long shadows over the plateau, one cannot help but wonder, have we been guided to see what our instructors and textbooks wanted us to see, rather than what the monuments themselves might reveal? The possibility that Western archaeology, intentionally or not, has shaped a historical illusion challenges everything we think we know, inviting us to question not only the past, but the frameworks through which history itself is understood. As twilight descends over the Giza Plateau, the pyramids take on an ethereal glow, their contours softened by the lengthening shadows of the desert. Against this vast, timeless backdrop, one cannot help but consider not only the ancient builders who erected these monoliths, but also the modern observers whose instruments now attempt to measure, map, and interpret them. Among these observers stands NASA, an institution synonymous with exploration, space science, and the human quest to understand the universe. Yet, whispers have persisted for decades, suggesting that even NASA may have been complicit in keeping certain truths about the pyramids from public view. Could it be that evidence challenging conventional chronology, or hinting at pre-Ice Age knowledge, has been deliberately obscured by those entrusted with surveying the heavens and, by extension, the monuments of Earth? NASA's involvement in Egypt is well documented. Satellite imagery has been used to map the Giza Plateau with unprecedented precision. LiDAR scanning, thermal imaging, and spectral analysis have revealed anomalies beneath the sands, voids, cavities, and structural irregularities that defy easy explanation. Yet much of this data has been either selectively released or interpreted through a narrow lens. While official statements emphasize geological shifts, erosion patterns, or natural voids, independent researchers have noted discrepancies in the datasets, patterns of thermal anomalies, and structural alignments that suggest something far more deliberate. If the pyramids were, as some claim, built before the Ice Age, then their creators may have possessed technologies or knowledge that even NASA's advanced instruments struggle to fully comprehend. How much of this knowledge, and the implications it carries, has been smoothed over in the narratives we are allowed to access. Consider the Great Pyramid of Khufu. Its internal chambers produce heat differentials that cannot be explained by mere sunlight absorption. Its passages are aligned with celestial bodies with remarkable precision, a feature that hints at astronomical knowledge centuries ahead of recorded history. NASA's satellite scans confirm these alignments, yet mainstream explanations reduce them to coincidences or the natural decay of stone. Could it be that the interpretation of these scans is guided not solely by scientific rigor, but by institutional caution? By maintaining the official chronology of human achievement, does NASA, knowingly or not, become a participant in the concealment of a history that predates the Ice Age? Evidence from space-based imagery has also revealed geometric patterns extending far beyond the pyramid complexes themselves. Lines etched into the desert, previously invisible to the naked eye, trace axes that intersect with neighboring monuments and natural features. Some researchers propose that these lines indicate a sophisticated understanding of geomagnetism, or energy grids, knowledge that predates any recorded civilization. Yet official reports consistently frame such phenomena as natural or coincidental, leaving open the question, are we observing simple geology, or a deliberate suppression of evidence that could revolutionize our understanding of human or even pre-human capabilities? The secrecy surrounding NASA's internal datasets adds another layer of intrigue. Certain raw scans, thermal maps, and high-resolution spectral images have never been publicly released. Requests for these materials are often met with bureaucratic delays, redactions, or outright denials. While transparency is a hallmark of scientific institutions, the selective access to information raises questions about why some details remain concealed. Could the data, if fully examined, point to technologies or civilizations far older than the Pharaonic era? Civilizations that may have left traces in the pyramid's architecture and internal design. Satellite and space exploration also suggest another puzzling aspect: the alignment of the pyramids with stars and planetary bodies. Some alignments correspond precisely to positions of stars thousands of years before the establishment of dynastic Egypt. NASA's own astronomical models corroborate these positions, yet the implications are understated in public discourse. Is it mere coincidence, or evidence of an advanced civilization that understood the cosmos in ways we are only beginning to imagine? And if the latter, why has the public narrative been kept narrow, emphasizing dynastic achievement while downplaying any suggestion of a far older knowledge? The question extends beyond data interpretation to the very philosophy of exploration. NASA, like all scientific institutions, operates within constraints of funding, politics, and global perception. In this environment, revelations that radically challenge accepted human history could be considered destabilizing, both intellectually and culturally. Whether intentional or not, the result is a cautious curation of information, where anomalies are minimized, and patterns that might suggest pre-Ice Age civilization are relegated to footnotes or classified archives. Yet despite these constraints, the evidence persists. Thermal anomalies, hidden voids, geometric alignments, and celestial correlations remain, quietly defying mainstream explanations. Each new satellite pass, each LiDAR scan, each spectral image invites further questioning. What knowledge was encoded in the stones? What forces shaped their placement? And how much of that knowledge has been withheld from us? In a world where access to information is often controlled, The pyramids continue to stand as silent witnesses, their mysteries undisturbed by the sweep of time, challenging us to reconsider the authority of institutions, the completeness of our records, and the possibility that the story of humanity's past is far richer and far stranger than we have been led to believe. As the desert wind whispers across the plateau and the pyramids cast their long, unbroken shadows, the question lingers. If NASA, with its unparalleled technological reach, has allowed only part of the story to be told, what remains hidden, and how long before the full truth is finally revealed? As the golden sun dips toward the horizon, casting long shadows over the Giza Plateau, the pyramids emerge not merely as monuments of antiquity, but as enigmatic sentinels of mysteries still unresolved. Amid the sands and wind-blown stone, one cannot ignore the whispers suggesting that these colossal structures may have been more than tombs. They might have functioned at some point in time as stages for experiments whose nature challenges our understanding of both history and technology. Across decades, researchers and independent analysts have speculated that the pyramids may have been utilized, deliberately or incidentally, in military experiments designed to manipulate energy, sound, or matter itself. Could these ancient edifices, predating dynastic Egypt, have been laboratories for forces that modern science is only beginning to comprehend? Historical records tell us that the pyramids were constructed with precise geometries and alignments, their dimensions calibrated to astonishingly exact proportions. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, for instance, is oriented with near-perfect cardinal precision, its base and internal chambers reflecting a mathematical sophistication that continues to confound engineers and architects. Modern physicists have suggested that such precision could allow for the concentration of energy, whether electromagnetic, acoustic, or otherwise. If this is true, could the pyramids have served as experimental platforms, harnessing natural forces in ways that resemble early forms of technology far beyond what conventional timelines allow? The notion of military experimentation is further fueled by accounts of the pyramid's unusual internal properties. Thermal imaging reveals temperature anomalies within certain chambers, consistent yet unexplained patterns that do not correlate with environmental conditions alone. Some researchers theorize that these anomalies could indicate the presence of energy sources or resonant structures capable of producing controlled vibrations. Could these vibrations, in the hands of an advanced civilization, have been harnessed for purposes we might today recognize as military applications? The idea is speculative, but the evidence, observed, measured, and reproducible, persists, hinting at functions that defy ordinary explanation. Beyond thermal anomalies, the pyramid's construction materials themselves invite scrutiny. The precise cutting and placement of massive limestone and granite blocks, some weighing tens of tons, raises questions about how ancient builders achieved such feats without modern machinery. One hypothesis posits that some form of energy manipulation, acoustic levitation, electromagnetic alignment, or even sound resonance may have been employed. If true, this implies experimentation at a scale both practical and experimental. The pyramids could have served as test beds for technologies designed to manipulate matter or channel energy in controlled ways, reminiscent of military research today. Consider also the peculiar geometry of the so-called air shafts within the Great Pyramid. Extending from the king's and queen's chambers toward precise points on the northern and southern horizons, these shafts are aligned not just with stars, but with points that might amplify sound or direct airflow. Some have proposed that these chambers could have been used to focus vibrational energy over distances, a mechanism akin to modern concepts of directed energy or sonic weaponry. While mainstream archaeology describes them as symbolic or ritualistic, the precision and consistency suggest a functional purpose, one that may align with the idea of ancient military experimentation, or at least experimentation with forces that could be weaponized. Outside observers have also noted that the placement of the pyramids relative to one another and to the Nile might not be coincidental. Certain alignments create lines and grids that some theorists liken to energy networks or nodes, a system through which forces could theoretically be channeled across the landscape. In a military context, this could represent strategic positioning, a way to focus, direct, or measure energy over vast areas. Though evidence is circumstantial, the patterns are too precise to dismiss, challenging us to reconsider the pyramids not merely as tombs, but as components of a sophisticated operational network, experimental in nature, and perhaps intended to explore capabilities that modern science struggles to replicate. Even the historical record hints at extraordinary phenomena surrounding these monuments. Accounts of bright flashes, strange sounds, and localized electromagnetic disturbances have been documented near the pyramids, both in ancient texts and in modern observation. While skeptics attribute these to natural phenomena or exaggeration, the recurrence of such reports invites questions. Were these anomalies byproducts of the structure's original experimental use? Could they represent the echoes of military-scale tests conducted millennia before any recorded civilization was capable of such feats? The concept of military experimentation also intersects with the controversial idea that knowledge of advanced technologies was intentionally suppressed or lost over time. If the pyramids were indeed utilized for experimental purposes, their secrets may have been deliberately obscured, either to prevent misuse or simply because subsequent societies lacked the understanding to preserve the knowledge. Modern governments and institutions may echo this pattern. Information is controlled, anomalies explained away, and only fragments of the full story are allowed into public discourse. As night falls and the pyramids are bathed in the cool light of the stars, their silent facades seem to guard secrets that are both ancient and, in many ways, modern. Energy, resonance, geometry, and alignment all hint at a level of experimentation that challenges conventional narratives of human history. Were the pyramids merely tombs, or were they stages for advanced tests, some of which could today be recognized as proto-military experiments? The sands conceal the answers, leaving only questions, patterns, and the enduring sense that what we see is only a fraction of what was truly possible. Amid the quiet desert, one is left to wonder if the pyramids were indeed sites of experiments, forces tested long before recorded history. What knowledge has been lost, deliberately or otherwise, and what, if any, of these secrets might still resonate through the stones today, waiting to be rediscovered? As the wind whispers across the ancient stones of Giza, the pyramids rise like silent guardians over the desert, their angular forms etched sharply against the horizon. To the casual observer, they are timeless monuments of human ambition and ingenuity, yet some scholars and independent researchers suggest that these colossal structures may harbor secrets far more profound than mere tombs or memorials. Among the theories whispered in both academic circles and esoteric forums is the idea that the pyramids encode warnings, messages from a distant past that speak to the fate of the world itself. Could it be that these enigmatic monuments were designed not just to endure time, but to forewarn humanity of events that might signal the end of civilization? The notion of prophecy associated with the pyramids is not new. Ancient texts, fragmented carvings, and mysterious numerical patterns etched into stone have long intrigued researchers who search for connections between celestial events and terrestrial history. Scholars have noted that the pyramids' orientations align with key stars and constellations that were visible thousands of years ago, suggesting a profound understanding of cosmic cycles. If these alignments were deliberate, might they also serve as markers of cyclical events, portents encoded to guide or warn those who could interpret them? Could these silent stone beacons have been intended to communicate across millennia, their geometry a form of language more enduring than any scroll or tablet? Examining the Great Pyramid of Khufu, we find internal chambers and passageways, whose dimensions are imbued with mathematical constants and ratios that continue to fascinate mathematicians and historians alike. Some theorists suggest that these ratios are not merely aesthetic or structural. They may encode knowledge of catastrophic cycles, of environmental upheavals, and cosmic alignments that repeat over thousands of years. Is it possible that within the very fabric of the pyramids, a warning lies hidden, pointing toward the rise and fall of civilizations, the ebb and flow of planetary forces, and perhaps the eventual vulnerability of humanity itself? The desert surrounding these monuments adds to their aura of foreboding. Isolated and vast, it provides an uninterrupted view of the skies, allowing celestial events to be tracked and interpreted. Scholars have long observed that certain passages in the pyramids align with the solstices and equinoxes, as well as with stars of significant mythological importance. If one accepts that these orientations were chosen with intent, they could have functioned as a form of early astronomical calendar, one capable of signaling events of extraordinary magnitude. Could it be that these alignments were intended as a kind of cosmic timestamp, predicting shifts or cataclysms that might befall the Earth, a reminder encoded for future generations to heed? Some researchers point to inscriptions and artifacts associated with the pyramids, suggesting symbolic depictions of floods, fire, and celestial disturbances, images that could be interpreted as warnings. While mainstream Egyptology often treats these as ritualistic or allegorical, a closer inspection reveals numerical patterns and recurring motifs that may suggest a deeper knowledge. The alignment of these symbols with specific points in the pyramid's internal chambers hints at a deliberate system of encoding, one that combines architecture, astronomy, and mathematics. Could this system have been intended to endure time itself, a way for a civilization to transmit knowledge of impending dangers long after its own decline? There is also the argument of resonance and energy. Some researchers have observed that certain chambers and passageways within the pyramids produce unusual acoustic phenomena, amplifying sound in ways that are difficult to explain by conventional physics alone. Could these effects have been intentionally engineered to convey warnings, messages designed to resonate with both the physical and metaphysical senses? If so, then the pyramids may have functioned as instruments of communication across both time and perception, signaling events that defy ordinary human comprehension. Historical records outside of Egypt hint at widespread awareness of catastrophic cycles. Ancient civilizations in Mesopotamia, the Americas, and the Indian subcontinent all possess legends of cataclysms, floods, and celestial disturbances. Could the pyramids have been a part of a global system of warning, a repository of knowledge meant to preserve the memory of past catastrophes and to guide future civilizations? If one considers this possibility, the pyramids are transformed from silent monuments into repositories of urgent, encoded wisdom, a form of cosmic insurance meant to endure long after the hands of time have erased lesser structures. And yet, the question persists. If these prophecies were encoded, have we truly deciphered them? Or are we merely glimpsing fragments, shadows of a far more complex understanding? The pyramids continue to guard their secrets, their massive stones unyielding, their alignments precise yet enigmatic. They invite contemplation, challenging modern observers to reconcile the vast scope of ancient knowledge with the fragile awareness of the present moment. Could the warnings they hold still apply to us, their resonance extending into a future we have yet to fully perceive? As twilight descends over the desert, the pyramids stand in quiet vigil, their angles catching the last light of day and the first glimmers of stars. They embody the tension between permanence and uncertainty, between knowledge and the limits of human understanding. Were they built to record the cycles of history and the warnings of past civilizations? Or are they a symbolic testament to humanity's desire to comprehend forces greater than itself? In their silent presence, one is left to wonder, How much of the past do we truly grasp, and how much of the future has already been inscribed in stone, waiting patiently to be understood?